Don't get many genius.
No, you don't. Genii, I thought.
Genii.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. There are lots and lots of reasons to be very happy this morning, and one of them is that Mike Parry is here. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
A very good morning to you, Mike. It's good to start the week on a high like this with a new competition of winners and losers.
Yeah, and it is Tuesday, by the way.
Sorry?
It is Tuesday.
So what?
Well, it's not really the start of the week, is it?
Well, it's the start of the week for you and I.
Well, you say that, but you were always working, you told me.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, I got things done yesterday because you weren't in my hair, but now...
Yeah, presumably your week started yesterday.
Of course it did, but now I've changed the agenda to on-air broadcasting. I'm with you. And I've got some very, very bad news for you.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but doctors have suddenly discovered a strain of the clap, which is completely untreatable.
Completely?
Completely untreatable.
Right.
I'm afraid it's very, very bad news.
Where have they discovered this strain, then?
Well, it suddenly emerged, and the problem is they were down to the last two antibiotics, which treat that sort of, horrible thing called gonorrhea.
Yeah. Why are you starting a show with sexually transmitted diseases?
Because
we've got a race to the top of the Premier League title.
I know that.
We've got Spurs playing like champions last night.
I know that.
We've got Leicester faltering slightly. Jamie Vardy becoming the curse of karma, as I said he would.
Do
you remember when I said that, when he posed with his Bentley? Do you remember? Do you remember that?
Well,
do you remember that? Another one I got right?
He'd had that Bentley for 7 months. The only reason I mention this, and we'll talk about it later in the show in more detail, is that for those who admire you for your alley-cat moralistic style of living, right? Moralistic. Your alley-cat moralistic style of living. Just to warn people that the danger of this is that at the same time it's also been found that human sex diseases killed Neanderthal man.
Really?
They've discovered
you'll live forever then, won't you?
In a parallel investigation. But we'll get back to that later.
Yes.
What I want to talk to you about...
It's a family show, you know this.
This is a family show.
We don't have any unsavoury references
at the start. It's a family show, and the reason why I feel it absolutely necessary to bring those rather smutty details to light...
Yes.
Not smutty, but I mean somewhat unpalatable details to light, is to warn people of the dangers of the alley-cat way of life. It's quite as simple as that.
Now, talking about alley-cat way of life, how about this for a bit of a surprise, right? Somebody's obviously sent us a text message error.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The text message number that it's coming from, no, I'm not going to give the number out, but the text message says this: "Can't talk to you, Jen."
Can't talk to you, Jen?
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about.
What do you think that's about?
I don't know, but...
Well, have a think about what you think that would be about.
Can't talk to you, Jen?
Yeah.
Jen?
Jen, as in Jennifer, I would say, short for Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Don't start singing. By the way, you know the man that did our compilation, his name's Craig.
Yes.
Did our compilation of you abusing me, basically. He's now done one of you singing.
I know.
I'm in two minds as to whether we should play it even
out. We'll play it out later in the show. I think it's very interesting. Which Jen could we be talking about? Could we be talking about Jennifer Lopez?
Well, no, you're barking up the wrong tree. The point is, he's clearly in a situation where he can't talk to Jen.
Yes.
Because he can't talk to her because he's with somebody else.
Oh, so you think that he's playing away from home?
I think so.
Well, you see, we're down alley-cat morals territory again. But anyway, listen.
Why else couldn't he talk to her? What would be the other reason?
Well, probably because his wife's sitting next to him or something like that.
That could be it, yeah.
That could be it. The other reason is it could be an important business meeting.
Well, that's unlikely at 1:08 in the morning.
No, it's not, because you don't know what part of the world he's texting and tweeting from, do you?
That's true, but it's a UK number.
Yeah, well, it's a UK number. You can have meetings at this time of night and all sorts of important things. I mean, look at us. We're working this time of night.
Yeah.
And, and there's an appreciation.
Maybe he's on the radio, because I could be tweeting something like that. I can't talk to you now, I'm on the radio.
Now, listen, the other thing...
It's just interesting.
Yeah, we must talk about the very, very interesting developments in football tonight. But just before we do, I think there's another thing I've got to mention, and that is how shocked I was. Shocked to the core, actually, when I picked up the Sunday Mirror newspaper yesterday to find that the actor Robson Green, who really is Mr. Geordieland, the guy who extols the virtues of Northumberland and the rugged countryside and everything northeast, has actually run off with a vicar's wife.
Yeah.
I mean, now, I'm not accusing him of alley-cat morals under any circumstances.
It's quite an old-fashioned sort of scandal, isn't it?
Well, it's a fantastic tabloid headline, the sort you don't really get anymore. But
are you obsessed with sex or something?
No.
I want to talk about Spurs.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Spurs in a minute. I just think we must get, to the core of the matters and convince our audience we're not going to shy away from the important issues about life in general, but we are going to talk football, of course, in a second.
You see what the Sun have done on pages 16 and 17? Apparently, it says story of a serial woman stealer.
Yeah, I know.
And it's got how Randy Robson steals women on his sex-stream fishing expeditions.
My God, that's a terrible thing to say. That is awful.
Well, apparently
because he does make these fishing programmes.
Yeah.
Well, you're saying he goes away, and are they insinuating it's an allegation and nothing more?
It says here, Robson loves a challenge. He's an adrenaline junkie. He's done it before, and here we go again.
And his fishing trips are a cover for a bit of old sort of Rogerisation investigation type things, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a terrible thing to say. But it is it is a very old-fashioned story. The old vicar was moaning like mad in the Sunday paper yesterday, really bleating about, how
Reverend
shocking...
Jeffrey Short, his name is.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Maybe that's part of the problem.
Yeah, Jeffrey Short, yeah. He was very short-tempered yesterday, I can tell you.
Was, yeah.
He's 57 years of age, and his wife, who I think is about 40, has run off. 43-year-old Zoila has left the Rev to move in with Grantchester Star Green, who's 51.
Yeah.
She's a Filipino lady. She's mother of the vicars.
Filipino lady?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Why does that matter?
Well, because I'm just giving you some background to what it's all about. She's a mother of the vicar's 2 children. I met the twice-married actor at a gym, so it was all about physical exercise, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess it was.
When they met.
Physical activity, as you call it.
But anyway, look, those are issues that we take up later in the show. I mean, for now, you've got to talk about the impressive power of Spurs. I mean, I'm telling you what, it blew my socks off.
You told everyone Leicester were going to win the title last week.
Well, I think Leicester still will.
Do you?
I think Leicester still will. I think the Vardy situation is absolutely enthralling. You couldn't have made this up, could you, if you got to the last chapter of the book?
A lot of Spurs fans are hoping that you continue to say that, by the way.
I know this.
Jinx could be in full flow.
I know this, and I know the way they, they try to draw comfort from that sort of situation, but they won't. And I have to say, I hope Leicester win it more than ever now, because to be tripped up at the last hurdle.
Well, hang on. What do you mean tripped up?
Well, tripped up
Are
by...
you using that as a euphemism?
No, not at all.
For diving?
No. To be tripped up by Vardy's irresponsible behaviour, because he's incredibly irresponsible.
Well, they're not tripped up. Well, he's one of their players. It's not like being tripped up by something from an outside influence.
I just said, didn't I, if you'd have listened, tripped up by Vardy's irresponsible behaviour.
Yeah, you did after I pressed you on it.
No, you didn't.
You said it would be a shame to see them being tripped up.
Yeah, tripped up by Vardy's irresponsible behaviour.
No, but you said that later.
No, I didn't. Then you said,
No, I didn't say, whoa.
Yeah, you did.
That's not the noise. I don't make that noise.
It's their own fault. The other situation,
which is... tea there, by the way?
Yes, I have.
Where's mine?
What do you mean, where's yours?
I don't make tea. Yours.
Sorry?
You just made one for yourself.
Well, I noticed out there we got one of these new, fast hot water machines.
No, they've just fixed the buttons on it. It's been there for years.
Oh, right, I didn't know that.
It looks new because they've got new buttons.
I know how effective it is because I burnt my hand testing the heat of the water when I was boiling water.
What a plank.
Well, I didn't know.
You are in many ways the Princess Margaret
and now I've had to put cream on 2 of my fingers because they're burnt.
You carry burn cream around with you?
Well, I do actually carry Humavate around with me, which is a cream I put on...
Humavate? What is that?
It
sounds horrendous.
It's a skin
cream.
Is that
for the clap?
It's a skin... Not as far as I'm aware. No. But no, it's a skin cream which I carry in my attaché case all the time.
Is it in case faux leather attaché case?
No. Just in case I get an attack of
what?
Of skin irritation, which can happen. Yeah, it can happen. Yeah.
Does it work on any other kind of irritation?
I'm not going to answer that stupid question. Because I take so many pills to keep the 1/3 of my heart going that's still going, right?
Yeah.
You find that
you celebrate over the weekend, by the way?
I did a little bit.
Thought so.
I paid the fine as well.
Oh, good.
Paid the parking fine. nearly got
Less
another
said
one.
about that, the better.
And I think I got done for speeding. You know these cameras which look at you, but with a huge, dome-like
cameras that look
face?
at you?
Yeah, they look at you. They don't look
away.
away.
With a dome-like face? How much did you have to drink?
No, they've got a nothing, because I was driving. They had a huge circular camera
I've
face,
never seen
and they
that.
look at you.
No.
And they're infrared. You don't even know if they're blinking.
Infrared.
And I head towards one.
Why is it infrared?
So that they can get you and you don't know that you're being flashed. And I head towards one. Yeah, I head towards one. And I wondered what it was. And then when I was doing 55 miles an hour and I got to it...
What was the speed limit?
30.
You think 55 and a 30?
Well, it was a dual carriageway, and it was 5:30 in the morning, and there was absolutely no traffic there.
Yeah, but if it's a 30, that means you don't do more than 32.
Well, I wasn't doing 55. I was doing about 44, I think, or something like that.
That's still ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I'm saying, it's 5:30 in the morning. There was no, I mean, look, I was doing a little bit more than 30, perhaps about 35 or something like that. And I suddenly realised, hang on. So I put my foot on the brakes. I wasn't actually speeding as I passed the camera. But I think it's one of these cameras which gets you from 100 yards away. You know what I mean? As you approach it, that's what I think. So,
Well, you deserve to get done for speeding if you're doing that fast in a 30.
I didn't even know there was a restriction there, and I didn't know it was a camera.
Well, how did you know it was a 30?
Well, what I did was I went round the roundabout at the top and came back to find out, and then what's the problem? What's the problem?
Well, you get done twice.
No.
You should get a ticket just for being a numpty.
No, I was more careful the second time round. But anyway, we've got to talk about Aston Villa as well.
Yeah, of course.
The Aston Villa situation. Have you ever come across a football?
I don't want to go on about it. But
no, I'm not going to go on about it.
You basically dropped out of the competition, and we had to reinstate it.
No, you cheated,
so it's now
and
0-0.
I had to withdraw.
Well, we start with a clean slate, and it hasn't been 0-0 or even, in fact, for I don't think all year. So
that's fine.
So it's a great opportunity for you.
That's fine.
It'll be a very short competition, of course. It'll only run until the end of the season.
Oh yes.
So we're not going to run it through the Euros, are we?
No.
So we end it at the end of the season, end of the football season.
End of the football season.
End of the Premier League season.
End of the Premier League season.
Okay.
Okay.
Now,
so it'll be kind of the best of 5, really, won't it?
I guess it will be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or 4
fine.
even.
Now that record there, what was that?
That was "Highway to Hell" by AC/DC.
Right.
Did you see over the weekend that your mate Axl Rose has decided to start singing for them?
I was about to say
He's
to you,
taking some time off from the Stone Roses.
I got roundly mocked, didn't I, by you when I referred to Axl Rose. Which group's he from again?
Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses, that's right.
Well, not only mocked by me, he made clips of the week.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That you thought you'd take for Stone Roses.
Well, hang on. Guns N' Roses and Stone Roses have very similar names as groups, don't they?
Well, not really.
Well, the last word is roses.
Well, so does a Roses box of chocolates. You wouldn't mistake them, would you?
They're ridiculous. These are pop groups, 2 pop groups. Anyway, now, did you know he's also walking around with a broken leg?
What?
He's what's his name? Axl.
Axl Rose.
His axle's broken.
Oh, yeah?
Seriously,
really?
Yeah, he's walking around.
Well, Brian Johnson, who's leaving the band because he's deaf, is apparently said to be devastated.
He's 68, though.
Hey?
He's 68.
Who, Brian Johnson?
Brian Johnson, yeah. So that's no wonder he's deaf. Most people at 68 are deaf, aren't they?
Somebody tweeted to me. So now they're replacing a singer who can't hear with a singer who can't sing. That's right. A lot of people don't think Axl Rose is much of a singer.
Is that right? Well, that's a bit harsh. He's been quite successful, hasn't he?
Well, he has been, but I mean, he has probably, without wishing to upset his lawyers, abused his voice over time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, did you hear Liam Gallagher singing at the closing of the Olympic ceremony?
No.
I mean, he was really bad.
Was he singing without music?
Eh?
Was he singing without music? Oh, no.
Singing without music?
Sorry, Liam Gallagher's been singing somewhere over the weekend and somebody told him to shut up and sit down.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
In a crowd, a football crowd or something, I think. Yeah.
Was it a Manchester City game?
It might have been. It was City. Well, City won 3-0 away, didn't they? So at Chelsea. So it may have been. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
I mean, he lives down here, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah.
No. This was when he sang at the end of the closing of the Olympics in 2012.
And it was said to be not too good.
Well, it wasn't said to be not good. I saw it, and it was horrendous.
Do you remember?
It was like he completely lost his voice.
I remember a few years ago.
Even his brother said, it was great watching that Oasis tribute act at the end of the Olympics.
That's
by
a bit
the way.
harsh, isn't it? Yeah. Do you remember a few years ago when he and his brother sort of first fell out? He wouldn't go to America.
That was when I first met Noel. I had to go and doorstep him at the airport.
Of course, that's right, yeah. Now, what happened was, Noel Gallagher has said since that was why they'd never cracked America, because he thought they could go without him and he could take up the singing, but he couldn't take on responsibility of singing, leading the group, being the lead guitarist and everything else. So he couldn't do it. So it has happened before with him, and it's not so. By the way, you see that drone thing? I'm going to talk about the drone thing.
Yeah, well, you say that, and of course Fleet Street has gone because it's run by people like you.
But I've been warning it for years.
No.
I've been warning about it for years.
How do you know it's a drone?
Well, everybody knows it's a drone.
No, nobody knows what it is.
Everybody in the aviation industry says it's a drone. What do you think it was
They
then?
suspect it was a drone.
What do you think it was?
I don't know, but I don't know for sure that it was a drone.
You said it was a drone. It was very high.
No, I did not say it was a drone. It was very high. I said it could. The reason they think it was a drone is because it was 1,700 feet up.
You said if it was a drone, it was very high.
No, I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
No.
You said that on the last show.
No, I said if it was one of the reasons they think it was a drone is because it was very high up. But that is very high for a drone. Yes.
Yeah, but birds don't fly that high.
Birds don't fly at 1,700 feet.
No, they don't. No.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely certain.
Well, I don't think it was a bird.
I know a lot about ornithology, and I can tell you they don't.
You don't know anything about ornithology.
Listen, getting back to old Axl, right?
Well, hang on. What are you talking about drones and Axl Rose for?
Because we'll talk about drones in a minute.
Droning on. We've got a drone expert coming on. Actually.
Oh, excellent. That's good. We'll talk about drones then.
Yeah.
Now, did you know that old AC/DC sold 200 million records?
I've seen AC/DC.
And they're playing live again at the Olympic Stadium.
I've seen them live.
So what?
Well, I'm just telling you that because you didn't seem to pay any attention to it. What do you mean, so what?
Yeah.
So you're banging on about all these facts about AC/DC, but you've never seen them live, have you?
I wouldn't want to see them live.
Why not?
I'd be bored stiff.
Would you?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because I think their music is trash.
How many songs of theirs can you name?
None. Because I don't listen to them.
Haven't you got their greatest hits?
No. No. If I thought they were any good, I'd listen to them, but they're not, so I don't. Now then...
So why do you think they've made so much money?
Well, because a lot of people like buying their songs.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's like saying, why do you think...
I think I'm right in saying, actually, that for a long time, rather like Pink Floyd, they did not allow iTunes to sell their music.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I think they've only recently kind of come to an accommodation.
Probably very wise of them.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's like saying, you must be... You don't know anything about chocolate if you don't like dark chocolate. But I don't eat dark chocolate because it's too bitter and I don't like it. But I know a lot about other chocolate because...
What's he talking about?
Well, actually, you are still, on Twitter over the weekend bringing up the score in the last Porky quiz.
Yeah.
When I didn't do too well last week.
None out of 10 you got.
But as many people
didn't do too well.
Many people reminded us. I got 6.5 out of 10. In the chocolate quiz.
That's because it involved eating chocolate.
So I know a lot about chocolate.
Yeah.
Anyway, can I just say this? I don't
know what you're going to say next.
Jim Brewer is apparently a very famous US comedian. Do you know of him?
Jim who?
Brewer.
Brewer, no.
It's spelled Breuer. He says, sorry, I shouldn't be laughing really, because it's somebody's misfortune, but he's a mate and a neighbour of this guy, Brian Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Who's had to retire because he's deaf.
Yes.
And
he's a Geordie, isn't he?
Is he a Geordie?
Yeah, he was in the band called Geordie. Do you not remember them?
No, I don't know.
You don't remember Geordie? You wore the big sort of Peaky Blinders type cap. You must remember him.
No, I don't, honestly.
Really? I'm sure that was your kind of era.
I don't think it was.
Sort of
Talking about Geordie, I saw some feature on a lady today. Is she called Vicky Patterson?
I don't know.
And is she from Geordie Shore?
I've no idea.
And have you ever seen Geordie Shore?
No, I've never seen it.
What is it?
Well, it's a reality TV show.
It's a load of girls, isn't it, who misbehave?
Well, no, it's a copycat show from America. There's an American show called The Jersey Shore.
Yeah, I know that.
Right?
Yeah.
You know about that, do you?
Oh, I've heard of it, yeah.
You've heard of it. And of course,
isn't it a takeoff of this Chelsea one? No, Essex.
Well, that's the only way is Essex.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, because it's a takeoff of the Jersey Shore, which is why it's called the Geordie Shore. That's the whole point. It sounds similar.
Yes.
But of course, Newcastle isn't very much like the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
Is it?
Well.
What? What's wrong with you?
No, Geordieland is a bit like New Jersey, in my view. Yeah, I do, yeah.
What's similar about them, then?
They've got a coastline.
They've got a coastline.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Let me think.
Similarities between Newcastle and...
You see a lot of ships on the water.
Yeah, you do. Well, that's similar to having a coastline, though, isn't it?
Well, that's the same thing.
Sand on the beach.
Anyway, listen, you haven't let me read out the quote. Jim Brewer, right?
Yeah, what does he say?
Well, his mate and his pal and neighbour, who was Brian Johnson, I think he was deaf, he said, a great quote this, he said, he wasn't upset about his health. He was upset in that he kind of feels he got kicked to the curb.
Kicked to the curb, yeah. That was the quote I saw. Which I guess is an Americanism, right? Which I can't say I've heard before.
It's Americanism for getting kicked in the teeth, isn't it? Yeah.
Kicked to the curb, yeah. Haven't really heard that.
I love it.
Now, how about this from Peter, who says, what kind of shirt is Porky wearing today? I can only describe it as one of his lumberjack affairs. It's sort of black with a kind of Bumby tartan.
No.
White and brown or something, isn't it?
No.
Well, how would you describe it?
I'd describe it as stylish and classical.
Is it Italian?
Maybe. I haven't looked. I don't look at the labels. I just put them on if I think they suit me.
Yeah. What size?
This one suits X.
X?
Yes.
Jolly good.
Yes.
Now here's one from Irish one. It says,
Okay.
since when has Porky become a sex educator?
Yeah.
Mark in Mexico says, is it a family show or a family planning show? Craig
That's a
says
good
Porky's
question,
talking claptrap already. And Steve says, Porky's starting the show with talk of STDs. Dear God.
Well, I think it's important for the
how about this one?
mental and physical health of our millions of people out there listening.
Here's one from Thomas. He says, I think Robson Green's a good catch.
Yeah. Good catch. Get it? Yeah, the fishing and all that.
And here's another one that says, I bet Porky's run off with many vicars' wives.
No.
That's why he can't go to church.
No. In fact, I've never really met a vicar's wife, to be honest.
Really?
Oh, I'll tell you what I have. I'll tell you what, when I was at the King's School Chester, very fine school, two of the lads in my class had fathers who were vicars.
Really?
And do you know what they used to do?
Well, both vicars in the same area.
Well, it had a big catchment area, the King's School Chester. It was all over Cheshire. People would come to Chester and the King's Chester for this great education. But do you know what they always moaned about, the vicars? Whenever you saw them at sort of open
Robson
days. No, this guy's moaning about Robson Green. Obviously, the Reverend Short.
Yeah.
He's a bit short on human compassion,
Short on
isn't he?
charm, I think.
Yeah, short on charm, yeah. He has actually forgiven him, by the way.
Has he?
Oh, he issued a statement
Turn
saying...
the other cheek.
Yeah, turn the other cheek, yeah.
That's more like it.
Well, that's a bit unfortunate, isn't it, in a situation involving a bit of Rogerisation. No, what I was going to say is, what the vicars always moaned about at the open days and all this was how poor they were.
How poor?
Yeah, always going on about, I remember one of them saying once, just because we're, men of the cloth, we still have to pay all the bills. Like as though they wanted a free life for being God's messenger on earth.
They do want a free life. That's why
I always thought it was... Grantchester's a bit like this, the TV show.
Yeah.
The guys go to Oxford or Cambridge University, get great degrees, and end up being vicars. I mean, it's not a well-paid profession.
Maybe that's where Robson Green got the idea.
Maybe.
Yeah. This is Talk Sport. Loads more coming up. Sport, we are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out. Winners and losers returns, of course, a little bit later on in the show. D says, a Cornish pasty, a few random surveys, and fungal cream in a leatherette attaché case. Is his name Parry or Partridge?
No, it's not fungal cream. It is for irritated skin. I mean, it's a very expensive one, by the way, as you would imagine. What was that music?
That was Crazy.
Crazy?
Yeah.
Why are we playing that?
Eh?
Why are we playing Crazy?
Well, you can play for any number of reasons. Partly we play it on a regular basis, part of the Spotify playlist.
Well, right? I'll tell you something else.
But if you wanted to ask me about what's been crazy that's been happening over the course of the last few days, I mean, you could say Jamie Vardy's behaviour has been crazy.
Oh, I think
you could say what's going on at Aston Villa.
Oh, it's got to be Aston Villa.
Crazy.
In my view, it's got to be.
Have you seen the front page of the Sun?
Front page of the Sun?
Gabby Agbonlahor has been on the so-called hippie crack.
Oh, really?
There's a picture of him with a couple of young women.
In
what can only be described as a pre-Rogerisation situation.
Oh, my God. On the day Villa go down, Gabby's hippie crack binge.
Yeah.
He's got two very attractive women standing near him.
Yeah, one of them sitting on him, actually.
He's got one sitting on his knee, and he has his arm wrapped around the thigh of another lady with a very short skirt on.
Aston Villain inside is what it says.
Yeah, it looks like he's enjoying himself.
Well, I mean, he's a footballer, right? I mean, we will hear, no doubt, from all sorts of people, including Jason Cundy over the course of the next couple of days.
Yeah.
This is what footballers do. Why should they be stopped from doing it?
Yeah, well, it's the morals of an alley cat, which I've been fighting about ever since we've been on air, Mike. I have warned people. I've also warned people about, the drone situation.
Agbonlahor didn't play in the game on the weekend.
He was too fat, apparently, wasn't he? Wasn't he carrying too much weight?
Failed
Aston Villa captain Gabby Agbonlahor went on a laughing gas and booze binge on the day his club were relegated from the Premier League.
Yeah.
Agbonlahor, 29, pictured partying in a hotel room with pals and two girl fans. The carpet littered with cans of legal high nitrous oxide. Isn't that amazing?
I know.
It's amazing
behaviour.
It's not
really, though, is it? See, I don't think it is amazing behaviour. I mean, to be honest, yes, the only reason it's a story is because it happened on the same day that Aston Villa got relegated.
Yeah.
But if you take any photograph of any footballer doing anything like that, in this day and age, £60,000 a week, I frankly would not be surprised. In fact, I'm surprised there's not more pictures of them doing it.
Yes, you could be right.
You know what I mean?
Who was it I saw over the weekend who said Agbonlahor's a disgrace and also some ex-Villa player, and I can't remember who it was now.
I don't know.
Somebody who's had a distinguished record at Villa in the past.
Brian Little.
No, it wasn't Brian Little. Now Brian Little's in a position now where he can't really speak. He's a member of the newly appointed board.
But this guy Bernstein, surely, has done a bit of a dirty trick on Aston Villa, hasn't he? He's turned up, with all the bells ringing and, sirens going off. And, here's the guy who's got this acceptable face of football written all over him. And he's walked away after about, a month? Less? Well, less than a month.
Less than a month. I mean, here's the report that I've seen. I mean, I was told earlier on it was because Lord, what's his name?
King.
Lord King,
Mervyn
that's right.
King.
Lord Mervyn King and David Bernstein, the former
I've just said
chairman
Bernstein.
of the FA. Hang on. They wanted funds immediately from Randy Lerner, the owner of the club, to appoint a manager now because they made the point that if you get to the end of the season, quite often you're too late in getting a manager to be able to enter into the transfer market, which they've got to get their eyes on now to try and get straight back next season, which many people don't think they're capable of doing.
But if you don't get the money, inside, 2 weeks, or you've asked for it, I mean, how many organisations have you worked in where it takes you a lot longer than that to get money out of the chairman?
I agree.
You don't just walk off, do you?
Anyway, this report says...
It's a shocking thing to have done.
This report says Aston Villa are reeling from yet another crisis after two new directors walked out on owner Randy Lerner, former FA chairman David Bernstein and Lord Mervyn King, ex-governor of the Bank of England, Only joined the Villa board in February.
Have you seen the letter from Mervyn King?
Yeah.
Have you seen the notepaper it's on?
It's on from the House of Lords.
Yeah,
I thought it was very
that's
pompous.
A bit pompous, isn't it?
It was very pompous.
My Lord King.
Yeah, my Lord King, yeah.
And Please receive this missive
I've got it
from
here,
my Lord King.
Actually, I've got a copy of it
ridiculous. Here. It's ridiculous.
Have I got a copy of it here?
Have you?
No, I had a copy of it
here.
No, here. I've got it here. So I've got it. I found it.
So desperate not to lose the microphone. Yeah.
Listen to this for pomposity.
Yeah.
This letter comes from Lord King of Lothbury.
Oh, really?
KG, GBE, FBA.
Yeah.
What's that? KG? Is that a garter?
FRO would be what I would say.
Night Garter, GBA, I don't know what that is. FBA, what does that mean?
I don't know. But I'm sure I could come up with something if you wish.
And it says, to Steve Hollis, Chairman Aston Villa FC. And then he goes on about, you'll be aware of recent communications, this season is the worst night. But at the bottom, it said, it's addressed, House of Lords, London, SW1A, Office of Mervyn King.
That's very pompous, that
is very pompous,
Absolutely
I'm afraid.
Pompous.
I think, that he had aspirational
I don't know what they bothered for. I mean, what did they think
there?
it was? I mean, I think they were going to walk into a football club that was being run very well, only to find that it wasn't being run very well. I mean, what did they expect? That's what they were brought in for.
They were brought in to try.
I wouldn't hire any of these people. Bernstein, I wouldn't hire to sort out a football club.
Well, you wouldn't now, obviously.
But I mean, this is a guy who's been at the top of the FA.
Yes,
right? What does he know about running a football club?
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah.
Mervyn King used to run the Bank of England.
Yes.
Yeah, what does he know about running a football club?
Well, he's been a fan for 55 years.
Well, it doesn't matter.
He's appointed.
Well, you've been a fan of Everton for God knows how many years. It doesn't mean you could run the club.
Longer than that, actually, yeah. But,
well, wrong 55 years.
Of course.
How many more years?
I've been nearly 60 years, all
nearly
my life.
60?
Yes.
Nearly 60?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Now, I've got a new test, by the way.
What's that?
To find out when you're lying. Right. I've established a connection with one of those journals that you talk about.
Yes.
And I've got a very much honest to goodness guide as to how to tell when someone's lying.
Really? Yeah.
And it almost
I told you all about that last week.
No, you didn't.
The body language.
No, it's nothing to do with body language.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's completely and utterly something different.
Anyway, it says here, the immediate departures of Bernstein and King left chairman Steve Hollis exposed, and earners running of the club lurching deep.
What's going to happen to Adrian Bevington now?
Well, I
don't know.
He'll
be back on the old sports breakfast, won't he, soon?
Well, I don't know.
Doing the papers.
No, well, that's what he was doing before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But,
I mean, not that there's anything wrong with doing the papers on the sports breakfast.
I'll tell you what's interesting. You know this guy, Steve Hollis? Have you seen him acting as chairman? And,
no.
Oh, I mean,
he's a man out of his depth, isn't he?
He's out. Well, I think he is, but I don't want to be unkind. But he talks about, we must re-establish the brand that is Aston Villa.
Yeah.
When people start talking about football clubs as brands, lost it. But
well, it's a few things they need to do first.
What I didn't know was that for 10 years he lived next door to our pal Andy Townsend in the Midlands.
Did he? Yeah. Oh, what? Next to him and Jasper Carrott and that bloke from Ione or whatever his name is.
Probably, yeah, from
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath and all that. And remember there was a story linking Andy to Aston Villa.
Tommy Ione?
I think it's Tommy, yeah. And there was a story linking Andy to Aston Villa about 3 weeks ago.
Well, I bet he's glad if he has decided to go or not go that he's made a decision.
He was going in the director of sport. No, he tells me he never really intended to, but that, somebody must have put the connection with him and Steve Hollis together and came up with, 2 and 2 equals 5.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Sounds like you're kind of mathematics. How about this from Lewis? Porky backtracking on his speeding already.
What do you mean?
First he was doing 55. No, then it was 44. Actually, it was more like 35.
Well, it was.
Plank.
Yeah, well, I just said randomly, speed. It was early in the morning. There was no traffic on the road. I wasn't being dangerous to other traffic users because I'm not dangerous to other traffic users. So, I would get off that high horse. That's all I can say to that guy.
Well, you could go faster on a horse. Ross says this. Did I just hear right that Porky has just paid his croissant fine? Now he's got done for speeding.
Well, I think I'm on it.
Laughing.
Actually, it's worse than that. At the weekend, I decided to head for the coast because I had things to do down there, right?
Yeah.
So
what sort of things?
Oh, just things to do.
Well, like what?
Well, I'm not getting into that.
Well, I know what you had to do.
Well, you look after your life, mate, and I'll look after mine. So anyway,
it's just a question. We have to do a radio show together. and people are interested in what you get up to.
And I've given you an answer.
What did you get up to?
Now then, so what happened was I go hurtling off down the road, right, and then I got about like a mile away.
Yeah.
And I thought, bit of a critical error here. I forgot to take the keys to my abode, my penthouse down on the coast.
Yeah.
So I had to turn round. Now, it so happened it was just after 8:30.
8:30?
Yes.
Ooh,
so I come back and I park in front of the old...
8:30?
Porky Plaza. And it took me 3 minutes to go in, get the keys, which are hanging on a hook in the same place all the time, and then come out again and come back down. When I came back down, right, in an empty road, again, this was an empty road, and I'm in the middle of an empty road, 100 yards one way, 100 yards the next, and there wasn't a single human being in the road. There's a civil enforcement officer about to book me.
Well, hang on. What was the situation with the parking in the road?
Well, you're supposed to pay for the bays, which are up and down the road.
Right.
But as there was nobody there, and it was just after 8:30, when parking charges start at 8:30, of course I didn't think about, I better go to the machine, which is like 20 yards away, 30 yards away, 40 yards away.
So you meant to have bought a ticket, in other words?
Well, yeah, but for 2 minutes, So anyway, I come down, and a guy called a civil enforcement officer is actually booking me. And I'm saying, no! And he said...
Why was he shouting in a foreign accent?
Well,
you pretended to be from somewhere else?
No, I wasn't. No. And I said, I'm so sorry. I said, that's my guy. I said, I forgot my keys. Upstairs.
So you gave him some cock and bull story about how you were a victim of something?
It's a true story.
Yeah.
I said, I'm so sorry. I said, it was an emergency, all this. And he said, OK. And he walked off. And I was just amazed. Because I've noticed that these guys, they've been re-uniformed, into black and red uniforms. They have actually red caps. They look like military policemen, And they walk up and down the streets now, taking pictures of all the cars in case they stay wobbling it over and all that.
Right.
And they're not called parking wardens anymore. They're called civil enforcement officers.
Civil enforcement officers, yeah.
I mean,
that's okay. But, I mean, what you're worried about is the actual cameras. I've got a story here that somebody tweeted me earlier on. Yeah. A motorist slapped with a £70 fine after council spy car catches him stopping his VW Polo on a bus stop for 8 seconds.
I know, this is terrible. It's
so not only have they got the stationary cameras, they've got the spy car now that drives around.
It's disgraceful.
Which takes pictures of you
It is
as well.
disgusting and
just
disgraceful.
Don't break the law and you won't get done.
No.
You should be a law-abiding citizen.
We've become a mean and miserable country now where we punish and punitively deal with people for the tiniest offences, where there used to be compassion, understanding and give and take.
No, that's because people like you ripped the country off.
No, it's not. It's because
you just took advantage.
It's not. It's because we're descending into an East European style,
well, you should want that, shouldn't you?
Socialist utopia where everybody's got to obey the rules. And those
that's
in
the kind
power,
of thing you like, isn't it?
Those in power, want to control your lives. I think it's disgraceful.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, we'll get more into that later on. Because coming up next, we're going to talk about Spurs with a man who used to play for them, Paul Stalteri. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Winners and Losers is back. Coming up in the next couple of hours, of course. Also, we'll be talking about drones with our drone expert from the Tesla Foundation, Mr. Wilhelm Kaschen. He'll tell you whether he thinks... I'm going to ask him if it could have been something other than a drone, because I think people who have drones are being, unfairly kind of criticised over this. But anyway, we'll get to that in a moment, because what we're going to talk about now is something else which is flying rather high, and that is Spurs beating Stoke last night by 4-0.
Amazing performance.
Incredible. Looking for all the world like champions, whereas Leicester at the weekend getting a little bit nudgy and sort of nervy and getting Vardy sent off and final kind of last-minute ditch equaliser from a penalty that maybe shouldn't have been given. Nobody really knows. Anyway, let's talk to Paul Stalteri, former Spurs player, and ask him what he thinks is in the tea leaves. Paul, very good morning to you.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Yeah, very well indeed.
Very well indeed, thank you.
Great performance by Spurs last night. I mean, if you were to show both of those performances from Leicester and from Spurs this weekend to a neutral, I suppose you might say, he would say, well, presumably Tottenham are top of the league.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was what a convincing performance. Fantastic goals. I mean, they took it to them right away from the get-go in a very difficult place to play away from home. When you look at the fixture, how it sets up, it can go either way. When Leicester would have gotten 3 points on Sunday, would have been that more difficult for maybe Tottenham to find that motivation to win today,
right.
or last night for you guys there. But when they draw, then the extra motivation is there when you're playing after them. So it can go either way. And this weekend it went for them. The motivation was there, and they went out right from the start from a fantastic first goal, opening goal. From Kane, and then that set the tone for the match for them.
I mean, there's lots of good. Of good omens, I suppose, about teams being 5 points ahead. There's equally lots of bad omens about teams being 5 points ahead and losing. I mean, from a player's point of view, who would you rather be playing for at the moment?
Well, I would take the 5 points with 5 games, with the games to go, no doubt about it. 5 points is still a big lead. There's no need to hit the panic buttons. Let's not forget Leicester played a very difficult game on the weekend as well. I mean, there was nothing easy in their fixture. So they've got a game that's basically a must-win for them if they want to win the title. I think if they drop points against Swansea on the weekend, it'll be difficult for them because you got Tottenham playing again on the Monday as well after them. So again, that extra motivation if they do drop points. So if they do win and the league goes back to 8, it'll be difficult to, it'll be a little bit harder for Tottenham to, maybe mentally get over that as well. So it's, again, it can play either way again this weekend coming up. But I would take the 5 points.
Well, the thing is, Paul, when you looked at the attitude of the Spurs players, Dele Alli scored 2, Harry Kane scored 2. Yeah, I said that. Yeah, shut up for a minute. And when you heard them speaking after the game, it was remarkable the bubbling confidence they had. They said, we could have played for another 90 minutes tonight. When's the next game? We've got to wait, for a week for the next game. That's, we want to play again now. And if you contrast that with the doubts now seeping into the minds of the Leicester players who are going to lose their star striker Vardy for at least 1 game and probably 2, maybe even 3, then it now becomes a huge psychological battle as to who can hold their nerve till the end of the season.
No, I mean, no doubt. I mean, this is where nerves come in, and nerves have a great deal to play in a championship. No doubt about that. I mean, especially when you've got a big lead and you got the team that's chasing you, looking like they're never going to drop points at the moment. So, very, very difficult. Both teams, difficult run in for Leicester. So I still think if they, I will say this: if they don't beat Swansea on the weekend, it'll be really tough for them maybe to hold on to the lead because the remaining 3 fixtures they've got some tough ones ahead of them. So yeah. I would say that the game against Swansea is probably a must-win for them. And again,
definitely
without their big striker, without their star striker in the lineup, makes it extra more difficult for them. But
that's the thing, isn't it? Because lots of people have made an awful lot of the fact that Leicester have rotated their team, I think, less than any other team the Premier League. So how much being without Vardy is that going to hurt them? I mean, can they still win games without him? I guess the question.
Well, we'll take Kane out of the Tottenham side, and then you have the same kind of answer right there for you. I mean, if you take the 2 main strikers out of the team that are leading the Premiership in goals, obviously it's going to be a massive hole for either team. So him being sent off is not only a blow in the game, but it's even more of a massive blow, especially if he gets more than that 1-game suspension that he's facing right now.
What did you make of the actual decision by the referee? Because there's been a lot of debate about that as well.
Well, when you see players trying to fool the referee, and you're going to get punished. And
I agree.
So you think it was a dive? You think it was a dive?
I've always been one that honestly is. I was an honest player, and especially when you're playing at the back, you don't. It's so difficult, so hard for the referees at the pace of the game that you don't really need. There's no point you don't need that in the game. That extra simulation that the players are trying to get away with. You can understand it at one side of it, but on the other side, the referees don't need that extra bit of question to see if players are doing that. So no doubt about it. I mean, for me, it was a good decision. Now it's the difficult part is how many games does he get. So it'd be interesting to see. You don't want to see a team like that go 33, 34 games in the season and then now lose their star striker or something like that. But hopefully, maybe I think it's still 1 game and get on with it after that.
Well, the thing is, Paul, it's all down to a majority of this country, because of the way we are, loving the romance of the whole thing now and wanting Leicester to win because they're the little guy, I don't know why we always go for the underdog in Great Britain, but I just think the best team should win. And at the moment, the best team looks like Spurs.
They do look like the best team, but North Americans like an underdog as well. No doubt about that. I mean, it's not just in Britain. Over here, we love to see an underdog win as well. I think the Premiership's got enormous support in Canada, and I think the majority of the people are supporting Leicester at the moment as well. But
apparently there was a whole load of people turned up from Thailand. I think it was.
That's right.
Watch Leicester at the weekend.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, but in the end of the day, there's the league's not won after 33, 34 games. The league's won after 38. So
well, that's true.
points to be played, and the best team at the end of the week and the end of the season is always going to be the one that wins the title. So no matter what anybody tells you, the table never lies. It's a saying, everyone knows the saying, but there's no more truth to it than that. 38 games. If you're at the top by then, you deserve league champions. But unfortunately, it's not like in maybe Germany or something where it's 34 games and they'd be champions. So 38 games, and there's still 12 points to be played for.
Yeah, still a long way to go as well.
Indeed.
Listen, Paul, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Paul Stalteri there, former Spurs player, with his take on what happened at the weekend, what happened last night, of course. He thinks that Jamie Vardy dived by the sounds of it, and he thinks that he should be banned. So the question is, will Leicester be able to survive without him, I suppose? And tonight we've got Newcastle United taking on Manchester City.
I know.
Lots of Premier League games this week.
Newcastle's position looks hopeless to me now, I have to say.
Oh, Rafa got a win at the weekend, don't forget.
He did get a win. It was a convincing win, 3-0. But I said a month ago, I thought Sunderland would get out and Norwich would slip in.
Yeah.
That was my prediction.
Was it?
Yeah, it was my prediction. I said it'd be Villa, Newcastle.
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah, Villa, Newcastle, Norwich.
Don't remember that.
No, I did.
Well,
I did.
If you say so. But I have no reason to doubt you.
I think I said...
Because you're normally so truthful about these things.
And I also said it on a Titans show, the last Titans show I did.
I don't listen to that.
Well, believe me, the boys on there said at the time, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah, I'm absolutely certain about it."
Because it was such a weird and unusual thing to say.
Well,
Sam Allardyce, the man who always gets his teams out of relegation trouble.
It was perceptive, you see, really? and perception is half the battle.
Well,
really.
I mean, I suppose if you're on a show with people who are not very bright, you look like the
that's
man.
Very nice.
You look like the man who's got all the brains.
Oh, that's very nice. You're calling my co-presenters.
I'm not saying that.
Not very bright.
It's not what I'm saying.
So Jason Cundy's not very bright.
I was saying, hypothetically,
Jason Cundy not very bright.
He knows he's not very bright. He's admitted himself.
Well, hang on. What kind of an assailant?
He says that himself.
Kind of a character assassination assailant of your fellow presenters.
Not at all. Not at all.
I wouldn't get into that sort of territory.
He makes an absolute virtue of the fact that he is.
Really?
Yeah.
So what you're saying, Jason likes going around telling people he's a thicko?
Yeah, he does.
Does he?
Yeah, it's part of his charm.
Really?
That's why I like him. It's one of the reasons I like Jason.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, he's done quite
well. He likes me as well.
Hey?
He doesn't like you, though. He's told me that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
We've got to go now.
Yeah.
We've got no more time.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
He's jealous of me.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. Got a few tweets here that I should read out. You can tweet us, of course, at the Two Mics, at Mike Parry, at IROMG. Craig says, a nice opening 10 minutes for Finn to listen to on his way to school.
Oh, yes,
adultery
right,
and sex diseases.
Well, it's for people like Finn that I make the bold decision to inform millions of our listeners about the perils of the alley cat lifestyle.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
I'm sure Finn's parents will agree it's something very, very worthy.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Ian says this, Porky, if your cream gets rid of irritation, maybe you should cover MG with it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And then somebody sent a picture of the traffic warden that gave Porky a ticket this weekend, Steve.
Yeah.
But as you can see, what he's done is superimposed Raheem Sterling's face onto the traffic warden.
Good, that's good, yeah, because Raheem...
He's playing tonight, I think, isn't he?
I think he's probably playing. Can he improve upon his 6 Premier League goals this morning in 4 games? Huh? My prediction was pretty close, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hey? Yeah.
What?
My prediction was pretty close.
What was it?
He wouldn't score more than 5 Premier League.
No, it was wrong.
Goals and
no, you said he would not. No, you said he would not score 4.
One of those.
Stop trying to wriggle out of it.
One of those was a hat trick.
You said he would not score 4 goals.
I didn't. I said he wouldn't score 5.
No, you didn't.
Mike, I said he wouldn't score 5.
Do you want me to show you the tweet?
Yeah, certainly. I said he wouldn't score 5 goals. Yeah.
Do you want me to show you the tweet?
Yeah.
Okay.
And listen, while you're doing that, while you're finding that, I'm increasingly irritated. I've told you before about women columnists, right, in papers.
Why women
who
columnists?
have a go at other women because they're always having a go at other women.
That's
Listen
what
to
they
this
do.
one.
It's their job.
Jan Moir, Moir, is it?
Moir.
Moir. M-O-I-R.
Yeah.
This is what she writes about, Princess, what's her name? Kate?
Princess who?
Kate.
Caroline.
No, Kate.
Kate.
Oh, married to William. It's Kate.
Yeah. The Duchess of Cambridge, you mean?
Duchess of Cambridge.
Yeah.
She says, meanwhile, Kate has capered about with her hair in a middle-aged bun at one end and barmaid shoes at the other. She's worn a variety of ghastly dresses, although not all of them were handmade by starving children in sweatshops.
Right.
So well done for that. We nearly saw her knickers. So again, excellent work all round. During engagement, Duchess was either screaming with laughter or looking utterly terrified. Is she all right? I think it's disgraceful.
Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. It is the return of winners and losers tonight as well, of course. And keep your texts coming in to 81089. Got a few here for you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah.
Tell Porky that the Ripples Griffin Vulture can fly at 37,000 feet, and the bar-headed goose can fly at 28,000 feet.
Yeah, and how many of those you see?
Hearts fan.
How many of those you see around Heathrow?
Well, I mean, you were saying that birds don't fly at 1,700 feet. He's just suggesting that there are plenty of birds that fly not only at 1,700 feet, but much higher than that.
Birds in he's talking about birds of prey and all sorts of things. I'm talking about birds in this country.
Well, a bar-headed goose is not a bird of prey.
Well, I don't care, but it's a rare bird, and it doesn't fly around Heathrow.
How is it rare?
The lives of 5 crew and 132 passengers put at risk when a drone smashed into their British Airways jet yesterday.
Who wrote that rubbish?
A person who was researching exactly what happened, OK?
What, so their lives were in danger, were they? So when the plane landed and they looked at the plane and said the plane is fine, does not need any repairs, it can fly again.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like a near-death incident to me.
Well, if you don't think that a plane flying into a drone smashing is
not
a perilous situation...
Well, we don't know it's a drone.
We do know it's a drone.
No, we don't.
We do.
Julian says this, I'm very sceptical as it's recorded as an object and not a drone, he says. It's been recorded
a drone is
as
an object. A drone is an object.
Well, it is one of possible many different objects.
Well, I'm telling you, what else could it have been? Don't be ridiculous.
Well,
Certainly wasn't a bird.
I don't know.
I'm telling you.
I'm willing to wait until it's been confirmed.
The only reason...
Absolutely, that it is a drone. Then we can then say, it was definitely a drone.
The only reason...
The police are investigating.
You won't accept, which is the common understanding of everybody, the police, the airline industry, the people at Heathrow, the only reason you won't accept it was a drone is because I was bright enough to raise this some 18 months ago that one of these days a drone would crash into an aeroplane and bring the aeroplane down. This got close to it.
It didn't get anywhere near bringing a plane down.
But you don't want to even admit it.
You're trying... No, I'm not... It's nothing to do with you. I mean, as usual,
Yes, it is.
You think that this story is all about you, don't you?
You hate my superior knowledge. That's what you do. You hate my superior knowledge.
How about this for your superior knowledge from Derek in Pencoed? Who says, Porky's a hypocrite. Last Friday he sulked because you didn't ask him about Gone with the Wind, a film set around the time of the American Civil War.
Yes.
If you had asked him, he would ask, why are you asking him a film question?
No.
He can't have it both ways. As I said, he's a hypocrite.
No, I've become used now to your cheating methods, and I expected it to happen. By the way, I saw that Pencoed is pretty close to Cardiff.
It is, yeah.
So is Derek coming to our show?
I don't know.
The tram shed?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
He might not be able to spare some valuable time from his job, but I mean, if he can, obviously that would be great to see him.
Well, is bog cleaning, does that happen in the evenings as well as during the day?
I think he works during the night, yes.
Does he?
Generally speaking, he doesn't just clean toilets. I think you're being giving you a disservice. He cleans all manner of things.
Does he? Okay, yeah. Well,
so, I mean, if you're cleaning an office, for example,
sure.
Mostly speaking, you would do it at night when there's nobody there.
Well, except on Friday night. That's not necessary because nobody usually comes into offices on a Saturday.
You don't know that, though. If it's one of these call centres, they're always there, aren't they?
Do you know what it's the anniversary of today?
What?
April the 19th. It is April the 19th.
It is, yeah.
It's the anniversary of the Waco siege in Texas.
Oh, is it?
No, I was on that.
Were you?
It was incredible.
Right.
Well, I was on it for quite a lot of the job.
How long was it going for?
It went on for 7 weeks.
And how long were you there for?
Well, I was there for about 5 days, and then I realised this was...
Were you there at the end?
Well, no, I was about to say to you, I was there for about 5 days.
So you missed it, basically.
No, I realised this was rubbish and it was going to go on forever.
You missed it?
No, actually...
You weren't there at the end?
No, I had to fly back to England to look after some urgent business.
Like what?
Well, like starting a new job with another organisation, which I was fixing up, you see.
Oh, right.
So
you were already kind of on the traitor scale then?
Well, I flew back...
So who sent you down there? The Express?
No, I went for the Express, yeah. So I flew back...
So while you were in mid-reporting mode, you were negotiating with a rival?
I was, yes. And I flew back from Fort Worth, Dallas, because obviously that was the nearest...
Fort Worth.
In fact, I got stopped...
DFW is known as.
Yeah, that's right. Dallas, Fort Worth,
Not
you're right.
FWD.
Yeah, you know. And, in fact, I got stopped by the Texas Rangers on the road to the airport, and they asked me why I was going so fast. And I said...
Well, because you were speeding again?
Yeah, I was speeding, actually, yeah.
Unbelievable.
And I said, well...
I'm surprised you haven't lost your licence.
No, I said I got a plane to catch. I'm awfully sorry. So this guy was really cynical.
How fast were you going?
This Texas Ranger, about 90, I think, something like that. You know, it's not
Texas?
that fast. Yeah.
Well, the speed limit's 55.
It is, yeah, you're right, yeah. So anyway...
So it's only twice the speed.
Well, no, it's not. So I said to this guy, I'm awfully sorry, you know. So he said, okay, what's your name, Mr. Parry? He says, you come over to Texas and you just want to burn up all our gas. And I said, well, I hardly burn up all your gas, am I? I said, you've got a lot of fuel in Texas, man. You know, it's oil rich, isn't it? JRU in territory and all that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and he started saying you'd taken you mocking me and all this. I said, no, not at all. But anyway, it was the usual thing. Because I had a British driving licence, he couldn't be bothered to book me because it would have caused too much paperwork, which would have involved Interpol and all sorts of things.
Interpol?
Well, it would.
Well, no, it would. It was just giving you a ticket on a hire car, which you wouldn't have paid.
No, exactly.
And which the hire car would then bill you for.
Well, maybe.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
So, but if they wanted
a credit card.
No, but if they wanted to prosecute me, then they couldn't prosecute me.
Well, they could.
They couldn't.
They could try.
Well, they couldn't. They wouldn't get away with it because I've got a licence to prosecute, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got the plane home and then I went and sorted out...
So you didn't tell them you were living on Pennsylvania Avenue then? You told them you were British, didn't you?
I told them I was British,
You told them you lived in Britain, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
You didn't tell them that you were actually domiciled at that time in America?
No, I didn't.
Which would have been would have meant they could have actually incarcerated
you.
I
didn't. No, I didn't. So anyway, I got home and then I went out and sorted out this business very successfully. And then I walked in and I think it was I've got a feeling it was a Sunday afternoon for some reason.
Waco?
Yeah,
when it
Waco.
went up?
Yeah.
You might be right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember because I think I was foreign editor at the time.
That's right, yeah. And so, anyway, I went into a room where the telly was switched on. I saw this huge burning blaze, and I thought, I wonder what that is, because I was a little bit blatherated, having celebrated the success of my mission. And somebody said, oh, yeah, that's that thing in Waco. I said, oh, right. Oh, well, we'll have to go back there then, because it was all over.
So you missed it, in other words?
Yeah, I missed it, yeah, I missed it.
So when you got back, were you back in America at this point, or were you still in England?
No, I was still in England. But then I flew back to DC and...
So you flew back to DC at whose expense?
The Express's expense, obviously.
So the Express paid for you to come to London to negotiate you leaving?
Well, I didn't know they were doing that. It was one of those... You know, when I went there, I negotiated the job, so I got 3 return flights a year, all club class, of course, and it was one of those, so it was as simple as that. But then, it's...
well, I'm sure they weren't too upset
life moved on.
Announced that you were leaving.
Well, I think they were, when you lose somebody of my quality, it can... what's your
I don't
problem?
think so.
What's your problem?
Craig says this.
Right.
You should get Porky rigged up to a lie detector with a buzzer. The whole show would just be buzz.
No.
Buzz.
No, I don't think it would. No, I'm not that sort of person, believe me. Now then, what do you think about the situation in which Leicester fans threw drinks at the referee? Don't you think that's a bit off?
Well, I've seen 2 stories in the papers this morning, and we'll have to stop in a minute, so we'll pick this up in a minute. But there's that one, and there's the one where Arsene Wenger apparently has received the worst abuse that he's ever received while he was sitting in the dugout
around the tunnel,
at the weekend. And people. I was listening a bit earlier on the Sports Bar, and one of the journalists was saying, this shows that. Times are very bad for Arsene Wenger and the fans are really unhappy.
Yes.
I don't think there's any excuse for that. I really don't. I don't see why football fans should be exempt from the behaviour of every other normal person in the community. That they can simply go to a football match and start shouting horrible, ghastly, vile abuse at people because they think it's all part of them letting off steam at the end of the week. You know what I mean?
I tend to agree, mate.
And any kind of behaviour like that, whether it's at Leicester, whether it's at Arsenal, I think is despicable, is what I would say.
Yeah.
And I mean, similarly, you might have seen that story about Leicester fans trying to sell tickets to some of the final games at home.
I know.
And
lots
some
of
fans
money.
being banned because one fan was asking $15,000 for a pair of tickets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, people will say, oh, well, they're not real fans. But, I mean, they obviously are if they've got tickets.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not good. Money does funny things to people.
Money does funny things.
Success does funny things to people.
Success, yeah, it can do.
Jealousy.
Doesn't bother me, success, because I'm used to it.
You've never had any. This is Talk Sport.
What?
Bus stop, wet day, she's there, I say, please share my umbrella. Bus stop, bus go, she stays, love grows under my umbrella. All that summer we enjoyed it, wind and rain and shine. That umbrella we employed it, by August she was mine.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up in a little while, we're going to be talking drones. Everybody's still arguing about whether it was a drone or not. Nobody's convinced, but we'll find out.
Well, I'm
from our
convinced.
man. Well, you're easily convinced. You're about the most gullible man I've ever met.
I think
somebody
not.
who's meant to be questioning things. You never question anything. You've never questioned anything.
I question everything,
You
and
believe
I'm convinced
everything
it's
you
drone.
read. You believe everything
Listen,
you read.
by the way, you talking about birds and all that, instead of birds and fly the high. Do you know that it looks as though we in this country have lost our only golden eagle.
What? Where's he gone?
His name's Eddie, by the way. And
Eddie the Eagle?
Yeah, that was obviously named after Eddie the Eagle, which, of course, the
That
film is
film's
now
out,
merged.
yeah.
Yeah,
Have
that's
you
right.
gonna
Yeah.
see that?
But this was... No, that's a load of junk. But
You're in junk.
That's a silly story, isn't it? About a loser.
It's a true story.
I don't like losers.
You don't like losers?
No, I like winners.
You didn't support Eddie the Eagle?
No, not at all. I
didn't think it was in any way amusing?
No, I think it was an embarrassment to this country. You know, this oaf going around, you know, practising on his mum's ironing board and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you know, what a load of rubbish, honestly.
I'm not sure I'd be that keen on seeing it. Actually.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what I did watch over the weekend,
yeah.
because I thought I should do it just so that I should be able to talk about it.
Right.
Was an episode of that's Scott and Bailey, is it?
Scott and Bailey, wasn't it brilliant?
It was rubbish.
No,
absolute cobblers.
It's brilliant. It's
absolute
brilliant. What an
rubbish.
impressive woman she is,
no,
you know.
It's rubbish.
No, anyway, listen, let me tell you about
Very formulaic.
the Eagle. Seriously, the Eagle. Diving,
so the
soaring.
Eagle hasn't landed?
No. You're absolutely right. He would dive and soar above the Lake District, right?
What's happened to him?
Well, he's been looking for a new partner for the last 12 years.
A bit like you.
You idiot. 12 years ago, his mate died, right? The partner. They call them mates if they're eagles, like, you know.
Do they mate for life, eagles?
Yeah, they do. They do. And she disappeared. So, obviously, you know, she came across her somewhere.
Go?
I don't know. Nobody knows.
Right.
So he's been, you know, swooping around Lake District looking for another one.
Yeah.
But now it looks like he swooped for the last time. The bird, whose wingspan was around 6 feet, it's not been seen for several weeks by staff at the RSPB, that is the Royal Society for the
So they've lost him.
Prevention of Birds, at Hawes Water.
Royal Society for the Prevention of Birds.
Yeah. What's your problem? What's your...
Well, it's not the Royal Society for the Prevention of Birds, is it?
What is it? No, preservation. Protection, that's it. Yeah, I know it was, yeah. Now then, the Haweswater Natural Reserve is in the Lake District, right?
Right.
And England's last golden eagle.
So what have they been doing? They've only got one eagle to watch and they've lost it. What a collection of planks.
Well, they don't follow it around.
Well, why didn't they tag it?
And the sadness of it was that the golden eagle was extinct in 1850.
What?
In 1850, but we resettled a group
how
of
could
them.
it have been extinct then?
Well, because we resettled a group of them.
Well, where did they come from? It was extinct.
They got the eggs from Scandinavia and brought them back.
Where did the eggs come from?
Scandinavia, I've just told you.
But who laid the eggs?
Other eagles.
Well, they're not extinct then, are they?
No, they were extinct in England in 1850.
Well, no, that's rubbish. They can't be extinct in one country.
They can.
Either the species is extinct or not extinct.
No. Anyway, they brought them back in 1960 and they've been flying around ever since. He was known as the Golden Boy.
Really?
Last male golden eagle known to have perched in the crags above Hawes Water, and his partner died in 2004.
Yeah. Well, maybe they should stop worrying about what to call him and just keep an eye on him.
Guess how many pairs of golden eagles there are in Scotland, your territory?
I would say 3.
No, 440.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's loads of them there. They just don't come south to
maybe he's
England.
gone up there then for a bit of Rogerisation.
Well, you'd hope so, but I don't think it has.
Well, it's not very far, is it?
Anyway, listen.
From the Lake District to Scotland, by as the eagle flies, it's not very long at all.
100 miles.
Well, it's not even that.
Well, it will be
to the border.
No, it's not to the border. It's to the Highlands. That's where they.
Well, how do you know they're not in the borders?
Because they don't nest in the borders. They nest in the islands and islands.
You don't know that.
I know that because I've studied it. I'm an ornithologist.
Really? Royal Society for the Prevention of Birds. You remember that?
Now then, listen to this. That music we just played.
Yes.
That was Graham Nash.
Was it?
Of the Hollies.
Yes.
In Bus Stop, which was like a 60s record.
Was that a Hollies song?
That was a Hollies song,
I think I saw somebody tweeting the other day that they're playing in Manchester.
Well, they're always on tour.
Are they?
The Manchester group, actually, aren't they?
Somebody said, forget Oasis, forget, Joy Division, New Order, whatever.
Sure.
The Hollies are back.
Yeah, no, they are. They're great. But what I was going to say
must be ancient.
What was I going to say to you was that he's made a new record now, and it's called... oh, excuse me.
You're right.
Yeah, fine, yeah. It's called This Path Tonight. And it's got rave reviews. It says it's brilliant. And
rave reviews from where?
Well, from people who review records. These
like who though?
Record reviewers. Well, I don't know the name. I don't know the name of every one of them individually.
Do you know any of them?
I wish you'd stop asking so many stupid questions when I'm trying to inform the millions of millions about something that's happening.
Well, no, because you're telling people
you never
that the
tell
Hollies
the
are
audience
great.
anything interesting.
I tell them.
All you do is pick holes in everything I do.
That's not true.
No, just
listen. That is not true.
So Nash has got this new record out.
I just told you about the guy that got a ticket for being at a bus stop for 8 seconds.
Which I could have found out myself. That's not, not anything really sensational.
Right, okay.
Now then...
Do you want me to tell you more stories of my experiences?
No, thanks. Not interested. The audience aren't interested either.
Okay.
Now, Nash's
what do you want from me, then?
Nash's new record, This Path Tonight, getting rave reviews.
Yeah.
He's 74.
Is he?
And yet he's still banging out records. But guess who the other guy's just put out a new record
don't you think he should stop?
No, not if he's got great music.
You said you thought the Rolling Stones should stop banging out music.
Yeah, but I think that...
What's the difference?
Because I think the Rolling Stones, as an entity now, are a joke.
Why?
Whereas I think if you get one individual musician like Graham Nash or David Bowie or Paul McCartney, they can still produce great music on their own.
Why shouldn't they do it in a band, then?
Because the band looks like a circus. The band looks like a circus of old people staggering around trying to imitate what they were 50 years ago.
So you think the Hollies should stop, then?
The Hollies don't do it in a serious fashion. They do it now as a, review group or what do you call it?
I don't know.
Tribute. They're almost a tribute band
tribute
to themselves. Yeah, they are, because only 2 of them are the original Hollies. Yeah, no, it's true.
What a load of old cobblers
It's not old cobblers.
So the Hollies are now a tribute band to the Hollies?
Yeah.
So you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what the Hollies do is they go to places like Butlins and Pontins and places like that for weekends and all these...
Are you saying there's something wrong with that?
All these... No, I'm not saying anything wrong about it at all. And guys of sort of, of a certain age go along there and put their flares on and, get nostalgic back to the days when all that was good because
they're still
that's
the Hollies,
what they want to do. Yeah, of course they're still the Hollies. And that's all very good. But the Stones don't do that. The Stones still want to be...
The Stones haven't got the original line-up either.
The mainlining group.
Bill Wyman doesn't play with them anymore.
Funny enough,
Mick Jones doesn't play with them anymore.
Funny enough, I read
Brian Jones.
Well, Brian Jones is dead.
Mick Taylor, I should say, not Mick Jones.
Only 2 members of the Stones went to Brian Jones's funeral.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ronnie Wood wasn't in the original line-up. It's only 3 of them, actually, from the original line-up, isn't it?
Yes, because one's left. That's Bill Wyman, and the other one's dead. Now, the guy who took over as guitarist when Brian Jones died? Mick Taylor, at that concert in Hyde Park. Yeah. I read about him over the weekend. He's really moaning about, the Forgotten Stone.
Because he's not even part... He wasn't invited to this new exhibition.
No, he wasn't. He's not even mentioned in it.
He's not mentioned, no.
He's not mentioned it at all. So he was whinging and moaning a bit. But getting back to Graham Nash, who's brought out this great new record. Yeah. The other guy who's...
Can we not hear his great new record, then?
Well, I don't know if it's available
yet,
to be honest. I don't think so, no. But anyway, the other guy, right, who's brought out a new one, and you may have a feeling about this guy, because there was a certain small clique at amongst my friends who liked it, is the bloke called Santana.
Carlos,
that's him, isn't it?
Carlos Santana.
Do you ever...
Santana was the name of the band.
Yeah, we ever big on them?
I was quite a big Santana fan.
But they just played the drums, didn't they?
No, he's a guitarist.
Yeah, but it's mostly like a drum band, wasn't it?
No.
It was.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
No, he's Mexican.
Yeah, and that's he played a lot of drums. That's all you could ever hear. That's all you could ever hear.
Samba Party, right?
Samba Party. What does that mean?
It was a guitar solo, technically.
Guitar solo. It was
very
drums.
Moody sort of. Well, I'll play it for you, right? Coming out the next break, maybe.
All you could ever hear in a Santana song was a load of very loud drums and a few little guitar twangs in the background.
No, that's not true.
I'm telling you.
You obviously never owned a Santana album, did you?
Well, I didn't want to because
not even their greatest hits.
No, I didn't.
I actually bought their an album. I think I bought it. Or I got it for free. Called Lotus, which was a triple live album.
Triple live album. Yeah. That was boring.
Well, it wasn't boring, but it was to be listened to under the influence of certain materials.
I see. Right. Okay. Yeah. So you're admitting now to having taken the various substances.
No, I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm saying is that most people who listen to Santana were probably stoned. Oh, here we go. Samba Party. It's probably their most famous song.
Well, all you can hear are the drums.
All you can hear are the drums.
Yeah, that's all I can hear.
What do you think that sound is?
I said with a little sort of bit of guitar in the background. It's mostly some guy on the bongos.
You think the guitar's in the background?
Yeah. This is a guy bashing a set of congas or something, isn't it? What are they called? Congas. Congas, the drums.
Trade union congas.
I don't think so. Listen, I've just discovered, that...
Do you like that? I think we should play Santana all night now, just to annoy Porky.
Damn it, ridiculous.
Europa's a good one as well.
I was just about to say...
We're out of time now. We're just going to play more Santana.
Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young formed in San Francisco in 1967 at the height of flower power.
Yeah.
And they starred at Woodstock.
So what?
How about that?
Oh, we all knew that.
Yeah, well, I didn't. Well, I do now. He said Woodstock was rain, smoke, mud and campfires. Just about sums up why I'd never go to one of those festivals. What are you laughing at?
We're trying to go out on the music.
Yeah, well, let's go on the music then. The drums. Play them bongos, man.
This is Talk Sport.
Pleasure spy.
Talk Sport, we are the two Mikes. Winners and Losers is back, coming up in the next hour, of course, and it's a 0-0, so we're starting a new season with only 5 games to go, for some anyway, and let's see how Porky and myself do. He could go into the lead straight away, you never know. The voting will take place, obviously, a little bit later on, after about 3:30. Yeah. Right now, though, we're going to talk about drones, because Porky famously, some months ago, maybe as long ago as a year ago, predicted that drones would become the bane of everybody's life.
I sure did.
That at some point or other, somebody would fly one too near a plane and could cause some kind of drama. Now, it turns out that a suspected drone has struck an inbound British Airways Airbus A320, and a police investigation is now underway because they think that something like this shouldn't ever be allowed to happen. We're going to talk now to an expert on drones, a man by the name of Wilhelm Cashen. He's the chairman of the technology think tank, the Tesla Foundation. Mr. Cashen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you too, gents.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Now, as far as my understanding of the police investigation is concerned, they haven't actually noted for sure that this was a drone. They suspect it was a drone, but they're not entirely certain. What do you think it could have been if it wasn't a drone?
Well, it's a UFO of some kind, right? I hope it's not the extraterrestrial kind. So we'll just look at it as probably a drone strike possibility. Usually, if it's an animal, if it's a bird or whatever, they leave a blood residual or something. There's DNA or something to find on the side of the airplane. Right. So I would venture to say, it probably was a drone.
I would as well, because I've been fearing this for some time, Wilhelm. It's going to be a major, major problem in the world if people can just fly zones around airports, international airports. And what about the possibility of these being used by people who want to destroy aeroplanes by hoping they get sucked into the engines?
Yeah, it's a pretty frightening issue, that's for sure. In America here, we deal with that. The FAA has put up some really strict, restrictions for people just to be able to fly around airports. You actually can't be within 7 kilometers of an airport. And now the new drones that are coming out from some of the companies, the smaller drone units that are coming out from some of the companies, and I think all will follow suit, have a system in them called transceiver. And this transceiver transponder unit works in relationship to the tower in the area, and it puts up what's called a geofence, so the vehicle can't fly when you're in that area.
But would you not expect Heathrow, as one of the busiest international airports in the world, to have something similar?
You certainly would.
Oh, yes, they do. And the good news is that, the aircraft themselves, I'm talking about the UAS aircraft, the drones themselves, have this blocking ability that's installed at the manufacturer's level. So this geofence that goes around the actual airport itself that is designed and laid out by usually the CIA or the FAA in our case, and it's that kind of a process, and it's there to reduce the dangers of these types of collisions.
So are you saying that if this was a drone, then it was outside of that general ring-fenced area? So although the plane was on approach, the drone was outside of the region that they've specified drones can't go into?
Yeah, and typically it may have, but if it was an earlier vehicle, I mean, this program is just becoming indoctrinated now in the manufacturers, and United States is going to push hard for it. And in fact, larger companies who supply drones around the world, one in particular is leading that charge. And so we're looking forward to, them doing things like that. And it also makes it possible for temporary restricted areas called flight restricted areas, temporary flight restricted areas, TFRs. Let's just say you're having there's a big event downtown, big where a large population of people would gather, the Queen's coming out or whatever. That area would be a temporary flight restricted area where drones could not intervene because they won't fly in the future. Now, if you have something that's in the past, if you have an older vehicle or something that you've hobnobbed together, then you can basically fly it anywhere, and that's where the danger comes.
Well, you're absolutely right here, Wilhelm. You're talking as though we live in a law-abiding world. We don't. and terrorists who can put together, improvised explosive devices in a few minutes which blow off soldiers' legs won't have any problem making their own drones, which don't accord to any restrictions on where they can fly or how they can be taken down electronically. They will build these things and they will attempt to take down aircraft with them. How are we going to stop that?
Well, that's the thing. They're coming up with anti-drone measures right now. Strangely enough, Nikola Tesla, who is our namesake for our foundation and our namesake, the namesake for the car company, he a long time ago in 1887, he had built the first drone. Actually, it was a boat. A small boat in Madison Square Gardens. He sailed the boat, and if you can imagine, it's not really that much of a change for us today because we look at remote control as something just as ubiquitous. But people were riding up on horseback to see this boat steered through the waters, navigating the waters of a pool that was at Madison Square Garden in New York in the 1890s.
Sure. Yeah.
So that was a pretty amazing thing. And at the time, he made a proclamation that one day, that the reason why someone asked him, what drones were good for, he said, well, one day they'll be the peacekeeper of the world, and we'll stand back as humans and applaud and enjoy the battles between them.
But that again are the words of someone who thinks we live in a perfect world.
Exactly.
As my co-host, Mr. Parry, said, we don't, unfortunately. And if the wrong people perhaps get hold of these drones, then they might do things other than good with them. But what about why a drone would be flying at 1,700 feet? Because as much as we've seen many drones which are sent up to take aerial pictures, real estate companies use them, that kind of thing, why would a drone be flying at 1,700 feet?
They're so small you could barely see it at that altitude.
That's
You'd
right.
have to have some kind of corrected vision, binoculars or whatever, to be able to see it at that altitude.
And it can't be picked up on radar, can it?
No, they're very, very small signatures. Their radar cross sections are very, very small.
Yep.
So we just had a near collision here in Los Angeles where a drone was supposed to be 300 feet above an Airbus 380, which holds a lot of folks coming in on approach. So we've been through that same thing too. I just believe that the countermeasures, at least for our association and the things that we're doing through our involvement in UAS and trying to make sure that UAS are drones and trying to make sure that drones are deployed properly and safely, we're all behind the countermeasures along with the fun of drones.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as the incident itself is concerned, the plane lands apparently, and there was no damage that really to be seen at all. I suppose it might depend on the size of the drone, but if a drone hits an aeroplane at 200 miles an hour, wouldn't there be some damage?
Well, there could be, but remember, most of these drones are plastic. About the heaviest part on them is the battery, and those are lithium. Those are polylithium batteries, and that's about the heaviest part on them. Now, if it was ingested into the engine, that may cause some damage, and that's one of our biggest fears is something like that happens.
Yeah, I mean, if an object is smashed to pieces by the front of a plane, even if it doesn't harm the front of the plane, bits of it can fly anywhere into that plane. It can damage fuel tanks.
But I didn't in this occasion.
No, it didn't, but it can damage fuel tanks or anything else. I mean, I'm thinking about the demise of Concorde. Concorde ended up because a bolt on a runway was thrown back up into the plane, fractured the fuel tank, and the plane goes on fire. It's very, very easy to cause a blaze aboard an aircraft.
Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that could happen in the air as well as on the ground, couldn't it?
Yeah, well, it could. It very well could. I'm not saying that that's an impossibility, but the aircraft they're made very light, and they're mainly manufactured of light parts, so they're plastic. There are very few metal parts or components inside of one of these drones. But for the most part, it could have some damage in the event, like we just talked about, if it would ricochet off the windshield and go into the engine.
Exactly.
The battery could play havoc.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was
now,
getting
Wilhelm,
to.
we haven't got much more time. Why don't you tell us, because of what your work is at the foundation, I mean, are there things that you think drones could be doing in the future that we haven't thought of yet?
Well, yeah. As far as the drone itself, it's really opening up an entire new world for us of aerial robotics. It's that autonomous vehicles. The world is in the fourth stage of the Industrial Revolution, and that's in the stage of autonomy. And you're going to see robots, whether they're flying in the air or walking across the ground. You're going to start seeing a lot more of them. Here in California, there's a lot of that going on at university level and also at corporate level. And we're in the throes of most of the involvement. Most of our involvement specifically is in aerial robotics. And we've looked at vehicles, of course, that are the common things out there for things like, agriculture and doing, this ability to be able to manage entire farms by doing precision farming. There's a lot of different items that drones are starting to move ahead on as far as being able to do something that's very, very special, very, very different. We're looking for drones in the future to be able to deliver mail and, many, many things that can't, that are now financially becoming a
So making a lot more people unemployed, in other words.
Yeah, in some cases, that's the truth. I lived through
I wonder if you could find somebody to do a radio show with. Could you find a drone to do a radio show with me instead of the bloke I'm sitting next to?
Yeah, I can't blame you for that. I'd go along with that, too.
Ridiculous.
Thank you very much, Wilhelm.
Ridiculous comment.
Even Wilhelm saw through your nonsense.
No.
Said that I should work with a robot instead of you.
No, not at all.
That's what he said.
No, Wilhelm didn't say that.
Yeah, I think he did.
You put words into his mouth.
Now, we've got lots more coming up, including Winners and Losers, the new version. This is Talk Sport. Beautiful piece of music.
What?
Sorry, was I just disturbing you? We're in the middle of doing a radio show here.
Yeah.
Isn't that a beautiful piece of music?
Wondered what that almost unlistenable sort of whining guitar was all about.
That's Carlos Santana.
A bit of old Santana, yeah, which we talked about half an hour ago. Why are we listening to that
I'm
again?
playing you some more because you're obviously not educated about Santana's music. You think it's all about the drums. It's all about the guitar.
Yeah. It's not.
You just said you heard a guitar there.
It's not a great gap in my knowledge not to know a lot about Santana's music. You know, it is literally a blip in my life. You know, it's a grain of sand on the beach of life. If the beach of life is as big as the Copacabana, you know what I mean?
Well,
that's all it is to me.
Dr. Lowell says this. What the heck is Porky on about? Carlos Santana, one of the best guitarists. Sacrilege. Porky, that is guitar, not drums. Yeah. Roy says, tell that plank Carlos Santana is one of the greatest guitarists in history. The Beatles are pure mediocrity. Peter says Santana's new album is of interest because it features the original lineup, the Woodstock lineup.
Oh, yes.
Patrick, Santana's an amazing guitarist, Porky. You unbelievably ignorant plank.
Oh, that's very nice.
Thank
you very much indeed.
If that's drums, then Porky must be tone deaf.
Yes. Well, he had a lot of drums in it. That's all I'm going to say to you. I mean, for goodness sake.
Dennis says Congos.
People are obsessing about Santana.
Congos, best drums ever. Yeah. How much greater can this show get?
Yeah, well,
it goes to 11.
It's absolutely right. Anyway, that's very nice. Thank you very much indeed. We'll put that one to bed now. Now, listen, I got sent a book, an amazing book.
Really?
It was about... Now, here, I want your reaction to this.
All right.
It was about the man who's been described as the greatest ever runner, Emil Zatopek.
Emil Zatopek, yes, I remember that name.
Remember him?
Yes, I do.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, he was slightly before my time, but I certainly remember people
talking
about him.
Well, he's before all our times. He was born in 1922, right?
Yeah.
He was one of
seven
children.
Did he not run in the 36 Olympics?
He ran in the, let me see, between...
Maybe he was a bit young for that.
Yeah, a bit young for that. Between 1949 and 1959, he set 18 world records.
Yes.
That's 18.
Yeah.
From the 5,000 metres to the 25,000 metres. His most extraordinary achievement was at the Helsinki Olympics. That's the one you're thinking about. Well, 1952.
No, I just remember his name, really.
When he won gold.
He was talked about. What 5,000 metres, you say?
Well, hang on, I'm about to tell you. He won gold and set Olympic records in the 5,000, 10,000 metres races and the marathon.
I thought he was
He won all three and set new Olympic records.
So he was kind of a bit like Mo Farah, except he was better at the marathon.
Oh, he was just brilliant at everything. In 1951, he became the first man to run 20k, that's 20 kilometres in parlance, in under an hour. And in 1954, he took the world record in the 5,000 metres.
20 kilometres in under an hour?
Yeah.
Does that mean he was running at 20 kilometres an hour?
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty quick, isn't it?
It is pretty quick, that. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is, yeah.
It's quicker than you can drive around London.
It is, actually. A lot quicker. In 1954, he took the world record in the 5,000 metres, breaking the 14-minute barrier. A feat considered by the running cognoscenti as greater achievement than Bannister's 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
And
I'm not surprised.
And what he did is, back home, running in the forests, he admitted he claimed to the day he died that he took energy from the trees.
Really?
Yes, he honestly says that nature gave him the ability to ingest his lungs with the forces that made him run so well.
Where was he from?
He was from...
Was he Russian?
No, he was from
German?
some horrible country.
Horrible country?
Yeah, because... hang on, which one was it?
Was it not East Germany, maybe?
Well, they put him down the uranium mines in the end.
Did they?
Yeah, which wasn't very nice. What happened was he spoke out against communism, right?
Right.
And where did I read this? Because I marked it in the book here. Well, to be honest, he was described in this new book as being a bit like Forrest Gump.
Right.
He was a bit sort of unworldly, you know what I mean?
Simple.
A bit simple, yeah. But he was, as I say, he was born in 1922.
Yeah, where though?
One of 7 children. Well, I'm trying to find this out, aren't I?
Why can't you tell me?
Hang on.
You researched this, for heaven's sake.
Of course I have.
Yeah.
He's a Czech. He was Czech. He was Czech, right?
Okay.
Now, what happened was, let me see here. Right, if you want to experience a different life, run a marathon. What happened was, he revolutionised running. You see, the reason I tell you about this is that if ever a man is going to run the 100 metres in 1 second, it would have been Zatopek 200 years on. Do you see what I mean?
Well, he hasn't done it, though, has he?
No, but one day a man will, because a man will soon be 8 feet tall and he'll be able to run the 100 metres in 4 paces.
No.
I'm telling you, it'll happen.
Well, then I'll have to redo the 100 metres and make it longer, won't
Yes,
they?
of course they would, because every record in athletics has always been chipped away at throughout history.
Don't you think that's something to do with drugs?
No, well, it could be. But I mean, the point is, eventually it'll happen. Now, after the Prague Spring in 1968, do you remember it was Dubček, the spring...
Dubček.
Yeah, the Czech Prime Minister.
Dubček, yeah.
Who revolted against his Russian masters, the communist yoke, OK?
Yeah. Your masters, you mean?
Don't get into that. Zatopek, it is Zatopek, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, Zatopek, yeah.
Emil.
Yeah, Emil. Spoke out against Russian invasion.
Yeah.
He was banned from travel or speaking to the media, and the greatest athlete in the world was stripped of his army pension. He was then forced to take work in a uranium mine, a long way away from his home.
Right.
He lived in a caravan.
So your uranium mine must be pretty horrendous.
Well, it was horrendous. He lived in a
Does
caravan.
it glow in the dark?
Hey?
Does it glow in the dark?
That would be ridiculous. He lived in a caravan.
Well, you wouldn't need lights, would you?
And he succumbed to alcohol. It was... What's the problem?
You mean he succumbed?
Yeah, he became a bladderator.
Why is it everyone who you tell a story about ends up being some kind of a dipso?
Well, it's true. It was another 20 years before the Czech authorities apologised to him, and his reputation was rehabilitated. But by then, of course, he couldn't run anymore.
No.
He was a simple soul.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
But it's a great book.
Okay. Who's written it?
Who wrote it? Let me see.
The Czech writer?
No, a guy called Rick Broadbent.
Rick Broadbent.
He works for the Sunday Times, apparently. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with him.
His training varied between pace and repetition. He rested in between. His capacity for pain was bottomless. No. He was so fit, he was happy to win races from the front. He used to start from the front, sprint 100 yards ahead of the opposition and still get over the line.
Right.
Amazing guy.
Amazing guy, yeah. A name I haven't heard in many a year.
Yeah.
Zatopek.
Yeah.
See, we cover all sorts of sports.
Genius, he is. Genius.
Amazing stuff.
Don't get many genius.
No, you don't. Genii, I thought.
Genii, Genii.
Usually.
Yeah.
Coming up, it's winners and losers, not very far away.
Yeah.
Coming up on Talk Sport. Pleased we've come upon this Santana sort of
what's this turned into
vein.
now? The Carlos Santana show?
Well, because now...
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Now we're just going to play Santana because it's a wonderful excuse to play it, first of all.
I see. Let's go back down memory lane.
And second of all, it's an education for you because you think it's all about the drums and I'm just telling you it's all about the guitar.
Yeah, you've got to prove a point by doing it over and over and over
it's
again.
Nothing to do with me.
You can't make your point succinctly like I do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, your point was nonsensical.
No, it wasn't.
Richard says this, the Beatles only appeal to ignorant bums drums. Santana has global appeal amongst all races.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. The Beatles were the most successful band in the history of music and remain so. And Santana was a very cliquey he got a very cliquey reception from people who liked hearing the bongos. Now then, let me just tell you this. How much Prosecco do you think is being sold every day in this country now?
I think we've done a couple of stories about this in the past, and I think there's something amazing like... Do you say every day?
Every day.
Bottles of Prosecco.
Or the worth of them. It's £1 million a day now.
I was going to say, it's either a million bottles or £1 million.
It's £1 million a day.
But this is another... I'm sorry to say, this is another thing that you predicted some time ago.
Exactly.
There would be a shortage of Prosecco.
Yeah.
Because the demand was so high now.
Well, there is a shortage. Funny
enough, I've just ordered a case of it.
Have you? Well, you might have to wait for it because where's it made? In Italy, right? Mostly in Italy.
Mostly in Italy, yeah.
And I'm telling you, the factories there are working overtime.
When I was at Borough Market not very long ago, there's a place there that sells it. It's got a sort of a slight apple-y tinge to it. I think it's made in England.
Right.
The one that they sell there.
Right, okay.
Because when you walk around Borough Market, which is one of the nice things about it, you can have a drink. And so they said, well, we can have 2 glasses for £7.
Right.
Or you can have a bottle for a tenner.
Right.
So I said, we'll have a bottle.
No, the bottle, exactly.
So we walked around with a bottle.
Where was this?
In Borough Market.
What, you walk around the streets? Didn't think you could drink in the streets?
No, in the market where you shop.
Can you walk around with drink in your hand there?
I've just told
without
you that.
getting arrested?
Yes.
Yeah, but you don't always obey the rules when it comes to bladderation.
No, they encourage it. They can give you a little plastic champagne glass. You can you can have Pimm's there if you wish. If you'd ever come there with me instead of just going to the pub, I'd be able to give you a whole education about it.
I don't just go to the pub. Apparently Cava is also up by 11.6%.
Cava.
Yeah, and another one called Asti. Now, is that Asti Spumante?
It is, yeah.
Do you know what?
That used to be the sparkling wine of choice.
I was about to say, one of the first young ladies I ever romanced, in my days.
What was her name?
It was Brenda, actually.
Brenda?
As hotshot reporter on the Chester Chronicle.
Was she the one that worked as a secretary?
No, she wasn't. No, she was a reporter.
Oh, right.
On the other paper.
Okay.
And we went to a wine bar there, which in itself was pretty sophisticated in those days.
In Chester, That was when they were beginning to appear,
Yeah, exactly.
Late 70s.
And this was in a new shopping centre, and I thought it was ever so chic, to sit outside a wine bar. Rather than
it's amazing
going
to think
to a pub.
They didn't exist before the 70s,
They didn't exist.
Isn't it?
They didn't exist. I mean, I didn't drink wine until I was about 25,
No, well, I remember my parents first starting to drink wine.
Yeah.
When my sister and I started, really, because before that, if they had a drink at night, it would be a glass of whiskey or a glass of gin or something.
Well, the point is,
nobody had bottles of wine.
When you went to the boozer, in my formative years, when you'd had enough ale, and you could drink about 8 pints in those days, but if it was lager or something, then when you decided, I've got to get off the booze and get onto the shorts, my drink was gin and tonic.
Right.
It was large gin and tonic.
Yeah.
And I used to
it was still gin and tonic when I met you in Costello's.
Was it really? Yeah. And I used to have endless rows with bar people in this country about not having enough ice to put in my gin and tonic. I liked it very, very cold.
Yeah.
And so they give me the glass with 2 tiny little blocks of ice. Say, excuse me, more ice, please.
Yeah.
You want more ice? I said, yeah, why? I said, because I want more ice. So
It's
they go
still
away.
a problem, that.
Then I'd get 4 little blocks. I'd say, excuse me, I'd like more ice. Well, you want all the ice in the pub? I said, yes, if necessary. Fill my glass up with ice.
4 cubes of it,
you 4 cubes of ice. That's right, yeah.
And that's shocking, that.
Yeah, and I'd say, okay, I said, and take 10 minutes to negotiate the ice, right? And then I'd say, right, could I have a twist of lemon, please? What? I said...
It's just unreal, isn't it?
So can I have a slice of lemon then, if you haven't got a twist?
Yeah.
What? I said, don't you have any lemons? No.
No.
This is a pub, mate, not a greengrocer's.
I know.
I mean, it was just unbelievable.
Just ridiculous. God, I've just seen Ericsson hit the bar again there. Amazing shot, that.
Excuse me, why do you think our millions of listeners want to hear more Santana?
Well, let me read you this from Les in Manchester.
Yeah, Les is one listener, it says, very valued listener, but one listener.
Very, very valuable. Let's annoy Porky some more by playing these 3 tracks from the Santana album Shapeshifter. They are Canella, Angelica Faith, and In the Light of a New Day.
Yeah, very interesting, that one, Les, except for the fact that, apart from yourself and maybe half a dozen other people, the other hundreds of thousands are not really
Peter
that
says
interested.
this. Granted, Porky, Santana are no ABBA. Grand Plankissimo.
Exactly. Of course they're not. ABBA, one of the world's most successful ever groups. Bands, call them whatever you want.
So
They're very
the Spice
successful.
Girls. They're better than Santana as well.
Well, the Spice Girls were a celebrity band. ABBA were based on
weren't celebrities before they became
enormous
a band, though.
talent.
They weren't a celebrity band before they became a band.
They were a manufactured band.
Yeah, but they weren't a celebrity band.
They manufactured band, became a celebrity band,
I had the misfortune.
One of them married the world's most famous footballer and became a multimillionaire in her own right.
I had the misfortune, by the way, of watching Britain's Got Talent.
Oh, did
the
you?
other night.
Was it bad?
Well, I'll tell you what was bad about it. Was that almost every act...
Wasn't the star a little boy ballet dancer?
He was, yeah,
Yes.
which was so manufactured I couldn't stand it, right?
Really?
Yeah, it was all...
Well, didn't he have natural talent then?
Well, of course he did,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's not... it's about... I was having this row at home because I was like, none of this is as spontaneous as you're meant to believe that it is. And also, half the acts weren't from Britain.
Yeah.
And you think, I'm not particularly a little Englander, but if you've got a show called Britain's Got Talent,
you should have some British people in it.
Well, shouldn't the people who are on all be from Britain?
I read that there were criticisms of the show the week before because 2 or 3 of the acts had previously been on other talent shows.
Well, many of them have.
And one of them had been on 6 different talent shows
that's the
and
thing.
then suddenly turned up.
And the point is that they, I don't really care how they put it together, but they make out like it's, like Simon and the rest of the panel haven't seen any of this crowd before. Yeah. And some of the acts were so elaborate that they would have had to have been, spending a fortune on stage
rehearsals
work
and all that.
on rehearsals and everything else.
I mean, when it first started, I do remember them like going to places like Wolverhampton, for instance, and thousands of people turned up in a queue outside, and they all came and they got their 5 minutes. Yeah. And then out of that, they would pick a locally talented singer or a locally talented group of lads who played the drums or something. You know what I mean? Or something like that. No, not even congas. Like a marching military band style drums or something like that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I haven't actually seen much of it, but I
usually watch one episode, and that's the one I'm going to watch. I'm not going to watch any more.
I do know that the mother of the little boy who starred this week, the ballet dancer, is the sister of the little girl who turned out to be the star singer last week.
Really?
Yeah, they're from the same family.
Right?
Yeah.
And also, this kid has been in stage school since the age of 5.
That's right, yeah.
So it's not like, they were trying to make out like some kind of Billy Elliot type story. Yeah. And they actually got him to confess on stage that, some of the kids when I was at school called me gay and, made me cry and all this kind of thing. Yeah. And they're really building it up. And you just get to the point where you just go, oh, please.
All pretty obvious, isn't it?
Do you think we're all that stupid?
Yeah, do you think we're all that stupid? That's absolutely right. Now, listen, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about.
Yeah,
right?
go on.
Now, the old Merc has featured in the show the last couple of days because, of course, I got that part.
Because of all your breaches of the law.
Which somebody called Croissant-gate. Did you know that Mercedes are now offering high-end Mercedes owners the opportunity to have a boat that is... What are you laughing at?
You think this applies to you, right?
Well, I'm waiting for the letter. I mean,
Mercedes launches a £1.2 million S-Class super yacht.
Yeah. It's a boat that goes along with... It's the same shape as your Mercedes car.
Oh, yeah.
It's got the same...
I think I'll wait till it's 12 years old and buy one for £2,000.
It's got... They're £1.2 million.
I just said that.
Oh, did you? Okay, yeah.
I said I'll wait till it gets 12 years old and I'll buy one for £2,000.
Like
the car.
Well, I see what you mean.
You see what I mean?
In your case, yeah. Well,
that's what I did.
I don't regard...
I've got a £56,000 car for £2,000.
Yeah, but I don't regard you as a high-end owner, if you see what I mean.
Well, I'm the owner of a high-end Mercedes, which is a little older.
Well, very older. I mean, almost extinct, the holes in its bonnet.
I think you've got trouble with the word extinct. I don't think you understand what it means. Do you know what it means?
I do, yeah,
what do you think it means?
It means no longer around.
No longer in existence.
Well, yours shouldn't be in existence, mate. It's a death trap. But don't you think that's a beautiful boat?
Well, of course it's a beautiful boat. It's £1 million.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I'm just thinking to myself...
what would be, say, for example, the price difference between this boat and your crappy dinghy up in Norfolk?
Sorry, do you mean it's in Suffolk, by the way?
Oh, Suffolk, is it?
You mean my rib?
Your rib, yeah.
Yeah. The difference...
What does that stand for again?
A rigid inflatable boat. So, are you laughing at? Are you laughing at? It's rigid. It's got, like wooden boards which keep it in shape and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
The difference...
Just to pump it up.
Well, it is initially pumped up because that's what it's full of. It's full of air.
So you get like one of those pumps with it?
No, you idiot. Honestly, what a stupid fool you are. The difference is about... What's that, 1.2 million?
1.2 million, yeah.
Is that 1,200,000?
That's right.
Well, the difference in that case is about 1,170,000.
You paid $30,000 for your boat.
That's what they cost.
Are you sure?
That's what they cost.
You were ripped off.
That's what they cost.
How many berths does it have?
4.
4 berths?
No, 6. Sorry, 6.
What,
6.
You mean you sleep 6 people on it?
No, it hasn't got any berths. Seats. It's got 6 seats.
Oh, it's got 6 seats?
Yeah.
What, 2, 2 and 2 or 3 and 3 or what?
No, 2, 2 and 2.
Really?
Yeah, is it 2 or 3? No, it's...
You don't know, do you?
No, I do. It's 2... It's 2, 2 and 2. No, sorry. It's 2 with 4 behind. That's what it is. 2, 4
6
behind.
then.
6, that's right, yeah.
So it's 2, 2 and 2?
It's not. It's 2 and the row of 4 behind.
How can you have a row of 4 behind? It must be shaped like a triangle.
No, the 2 in front are for driver and, person next to driver. See what I mean? And then there's 4 behind that.
But why wouldn't they have 4 and 4 then?
because you wouldn't be able to move around the boat if you did it that way.
Well, you don't want to move around the boat. There's nothing to move around in.
Well, you do want to get in and out of it, obviously.
You must swing a cat in it.
No. Well, it's got no roof anyway, so it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, exactly. So why would you want to move around?
Well, you just might. Now,
it's been built in partnership with Silver Arrows Marina, apparently.
Well, there you go. Isn't that fantastic?
It should be sold in a different country to guarantee owners' exclusivity.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's great. Now, listen, I'll tell you what I was going to tell you, talking about Mercedes cars and all that. I've seen a new report which says the average driver who drives the average...
It's got an ice-making machine, you'll be happy.
Yeah, that's great.
And wine storage.
I know, yeah, it's great, isn't it? The average driver who drives, the average 10 or 12,000 miles a year spends 2 days a year, that is 48 hours, parked at red traffic lights in a year. In a year.
Yeah.
Right, how about that?
That's not very much, is it?
I think it's incredible.
2 hours out of a year.
No, 2 days out of a year.
2 days out of a year.
So that's supposing your
it's not much as a
living and working day is 10 or 11 hours.
2 out of 365.
That's 4 days. That's 4 days.
2 out of 365.
No, it's not though. It's 2 24-hour days. So that's 48 hours. You spend 48 hours sitting in your car at traffic lights, which don't go anywhere. We should get rid of all traffic lights. They are a blinking nuisance. There's some big roundabout place somewhere in like Swindon or somewhere like that where they've had to close.
Called the Magic Roundabout.
They've had to close down all the this huge traffic light junction. Do you know what? They have less accidents now than they used to have. Do you know in India they don't have any traffic lights and they don't have a lot of accidents. They don't have as many accidents.
Have you ever been to India?
I've never been to India, no.
Have you seen what's at the side of the road in India?
I've been to Pakistan.
Well, I've seen what's on the side of the road in India.
What's on the side of the road?
To say they don't have any accidents is a complete and utter
Well, that's because cars fall to pieces in India.
You see lorries, right, with their wheels completely off.
Yeah, that's right.
That's just crashed because they don't maintain their cars.
Well, that happens, but it's not because driving's dangerous. There's no. I don't think there's any. There's no. What's it called? A traffic code in India, is
Highway code.
Highway code. No highway code.
Well, all I can tell you is that I once was on one of those little putt-putt three-wheeler kind of taxis that you get, right? In Delhi. And the guy came up to a roundabout because it's full of roundabouts.
Yes.
It's all designed like
goes
Britain,
around it the wrong way.
And he went round it the wrong way.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they can do. Yeah.
And he said, "Don't worry, this is quicker."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible. Here's one from Steve in Darlington, who's texted into 81089.
Yes.
He says, "Tell Porky G&T has moved on. Even Wetherspoons serve gin with all sorts now: lime, lemon, raspberries, grapefruit,
I know, but
orange,
they didn't in my day.
And even juniper berries. He should already know this, considering he eats in spoons more than he does in his own house."
By the way, I didn't drink gin and tonic when I first met you in Costello's.
Yeah, you did.
It was Tank and Tonic.
What?
Tank and
That's
Tonic.
Gin and tonic.
Tanqueray.
Tanqueray's gin.
Tanqueray is known as Tanqueray. It's not known as gin.
Well, it is gin, though.
Well, it might be gin, but it's known as Tanqueray.
That's rubbish.
No, it's not.
What a load of old cobblers.
Tank and Tonic.
It's still gin and tonic.
Tank and Tonic.
Plank and tonic, you should have had. This is Talk Sport.
I've been down and I'm wondering why these little black clouds keep walking around with me. In West Town and I'd rather be high. Think of what me outside and by a rainbow smile, but they're free. They are free. So maybe
I thought I'd give you a break from Santana.
Who's that?
That's the Stereophonics.
Stereophonics?
Yeah.
Welsh.
They are Welsh, indeed.
And we're going to Cardiff.
We are going to the tram shed. I got a message here from somebody who's coming who says,
yes.
Porky, I hope you're not going to be a numpty at the tram shed. Can't wait for the bladderation. And it's from Big Di in Caerphilly.
Big Di?
Yeah.
What's Di short for?
David.
David, is it? You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Pretty sure.
Everton had a Welsh goalkeeper once called Di.
Well, they had Neville Southall as well.
Well, Neville Southall was Welsh, very Welsh, yeah.
Well, it's sure he's the most famous Welsh goalkeeper ever, isn't he?
I think he's the most famous Welsh player ever. He's the most capped Welsh player ever, I think.
Might be, yeah. Not more famous than Ryan Giggs, probably. Around the world.
Well, yes, true. And Ian Rush, of course. But forwards always get the...
Gareth Bale's quite famous as well.
Gareth Bale's very famous. Yeah. Now, listen, I told you that I might have run into a speed camera. Well, not literally, but... I thought one of these
forward loaded... When you were doing 55 or 44, whatever it was,
about 35. About 35. 35. And I'm worried I might get called to one of these speed awareness courses. I've been on one before.
Have you?
Very boring.
Have you got any points on your licence?
No, none.
None?
I've got a clean licence. I've had a clean licence for 12 years.
Have you?
Yes.
What happened before that?
I got done for speeding in Bournemouth, actually.
Speeding seems to be a recurring theme in your driving career.
Well, not really, considering I haven't had a speeding offence for 12 years. I think I'm pretty good, aren't I?
Well, you didn't say that.
Have you had one in 12 years?
Don't think I have, actually.
No.
I've only ever had one speeding ticket in my life,
that's pretty,
which I got back in I think it was probably, I don't know, mid-90s, late 90s, something like that, when I was driving in Wiltshire.
What I find remarkable is some people who get like 18 and 21 points are still driving around.
Yeah.
Now, that's remarkable to me on 2 scores. Firstly, why are they allowed to drive around when most other people get banned when they get to 12 points?
Yeah.
But secondly, what insurance company will insure them?
Yeah.
Because they're that dangerous if they're speeding all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can always find somebody to insure you, but it'll be very expensive.
Well, very expensive if they bother paying insurance. Yeah. Now, the reason I say that and these speed awareness is because guess what? The cops have come up with another brilliant idea, and I say brilliant because I'm...
With your tongue firmly in your cheek.
Yeah. Police chiefs in West Mercia, right, are now starting an initiative where boozy yobs can now avoid a criminal record by going on a course to teach them how to handle alcohol.
Really?
Booze awareness courses.
Oh, I can imagine that'll work well.
Yeah.
How's that going to work then?
Well,
Try not to get completely bladderated and beat people up.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay, then.
Yeah, or throw up in the street or urinate on somebody else's wall.
Yeah.
It's just not on, right? So it says drunk and disorderly offenders. Drunk and disorderly offenders. How do they make their mind up that they want to do a drunk course, a drink course?
Well, I suppose if you're a repeat offender and you keep getting done for being drunk, I mean, the police will say that because of the drink culture in this country and because of the hours that you can drink, that many of the crimes that are committed by drunks.
Oh, exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And it impacts on all sorts of things, like the number of police officers you need in a town centre most nights, which means that everybody else can go on the rob, you know what I mean? But anyway, it says...
the rob?
Yeah, well, you know what I mean.
I haven't heard that phrase.
That's an expression for burglary. Now then, it says...
Well, I knew that, but it's just I haven't heard it.
Drunk and disorderly offenders pay £54 for a 2-hour classroom session rather than having to pay a £90 fine for being drunk and disorderly. I didn't know people got done for being drunk and disorderly these days.
Yeah, of course they do.
I think when my experience is when people are drunk and disorderly in town centres now, far from getting done for drunk and disorderly, they get help by the police officers to... like a hospital or a medical centre where they're treated for bladderisation.
Yeah, I think it must be one of these situations where you have to be quite disorderly in order to be done for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you just have to pick on the wrong police officer or something like that. Because you know how when you see these scenes, you'll see police talking to people and occasionally you'll get some guy swearing, please stop using foul language.
That's right,
sir. And if they keep doing it, then they'll do him for being drunk and disorderly.
I know. Listen to this, what bladderators cost this country. The cost of drink-related crime is estimated at between £8 billion and £13 billion a year. Yeah. That's rubbish, that is.
Well, what, you mean you don't believe it?
Well, if it's true, it's rubbish, and if I don't believe it, it's rubbish. But, I mean, 13 million quid, 13 billion's a lot of money.
As I would always say, where do they come up with these figures from? What does that mean? I mean, they presumably include days lost to work because you're too bladderated to go to work. Yeah. Days locked up in incarceration
exactly.
because that costs money. Yeah. It's all kind of pie in the sky, isn't it?
Listen to this. Chief Superintendent, I won't give his name,
Why
right?
not?
Well, because I don't want to embarrass the guy, of West Mercia Police, said, because I'm going to read this to you, said, we are keen to embrace this scheme. It adds to the great work going on with our local policing teams, colleagues within the community safe partnerships, and with the pubs and clubs themselves. Do you know what I'd rather that police officer did?
What?
Go around arresting criminals, banging them up in police stations, giving them a hard stare and the good cop, bad cop routine to make sure they don't find it a very pleasant place.
Giving a bit of treat with the old rubber hose, is that what you're talking about?
Well, I'm not talking about that. I would never, ever,
bit of taser action?
No. I don't want any police brutality going on. But for instance,
But they'll say they haven't got any room, won't they? They haven't got any room.
A cold cup of tea, 3 hours later than the warm cup of tea should have been delivered, is a good hint to the fact that,
How about no tea?
You're not welcome. No tea is even better. I like that, anyway.
But when they complain that they haven't got any room to lock these people up, because there's just not enough, cells available. Why don't they just lock them up in the police van and leave them in there? Yeah,
that's not a bad idea. But this is the worst thing. This is happening in West Mercia. Yeah. But West Mercia is not the first. West Mercia is the second police district to do it. You know who the first was?
Where?
Cumbria. Oh yeah, that hotbed of crime, Cumbria.
Well, maybe somebody's stolen that eagle you were talking about.
Maybe they have. Yeah, but nothing ever happens in Cumbria, so there can't be any crime there.
Well, they had a lot of floods, didn't they?
Well, yes, but that was a natural disaster. That was a tragedy.
Was there not looting?
I think there was a bit of looting, actually, yeah.
So there was some crime.
Eh?
There was some crime.
There was a bit of crime, yeah. Now, how about this? The classes will be run by the TTC group. Who are they? Which runs speed awareness courses. This is
total. Well, it's more
it's a racket,
outsourcing, isn't it?
It's a racket, isn't it? The boss, Alan Prosser, said home boozing before going out on the town had boosted drunken behaviour. He says that as though they wanted to increase it.
Well, they do,
so they can arrest more people.
Well, that's how they get the money, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
It's so ridiculous. I mean, if you go around lobbying the police to start maybe we should do it. We should do some kind of, we can run a course, right? Go to them and say,
That's right,
we can run a course on, I don't know, how to stop your dog from fouling the footpath. Yeah, exactly. How about that?
No, I listen to this. This boss guy says, he's been very, very, sort of school.
Is this Prosser?
Schoolmasterish about this. Yeah, this is the guy.
Prosser.
What's his name? Yeah,
Prosser.
Alan Prosser. Yeah. He says, it's fantastic. I don't know where he gets this information from. It's not unusual these days for someone to have 100 units of alcohol over a weekend. Oh, really?
I don't even know what that means.
What's 50 pints?
Is it?
Yeah.
Over a weekend?
Yeah.
Well, Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah.
That's quite a lot of pints.
It's quite a lot of pints. It's either 50 pints or 50 large glasses of wine.
How much is a bottle of wine?
A bottle of wine's £5. What's your problem?
How many units?
Oh, how many units? Well, a unit, it's...
I know how much it costs.
It's 6 units a bottle of wine.
6 units?
6 units, yeah.
So that would mean you'd be having to drink...
8 bottles of wine.
8 bottles of wine?
Yeah.
That's an awful lot.
So that works out at
even I wouldn't drink that many.
8 bottles over a weekend, right, Mike? So you start with 2.5 on Friday night.
Say 2 to 3 on Friday night.
No, 2.5 Friday, 1.5 on Saturday lunchtime, that's 4.
Right.
3 on Saturday night, that's 7, and then 1 to finish off on Sunday lunchtime. That's 8.
8. That's a lot of wine.
That's a lot of wine.
Yeah.
And that would damage your liver. In my view,
absolutely.
Yeah, not a good idea. But anyway, that's what we're up to now on the on the social scene. It's a damn disgrace, isn't it?
It is ridiculous.
Damn disgrace when people.
Matty says this. Yeah. You should place Santana in the light of the New Day and link it with your favourite paper, the New Day. Have you seen the New Day today?
Yeah. Hey?
The personal listography tonight. List your 3 favourite places to shop.
I know. Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, I could do yours, right? Morrison's.
Morrison's, yeah, that's all right, yeah.
Morrison's.
Yeah, I don't mind shopping there. It's a good place.
Where else do you like to shop?
Where else do I like to shop?
Sports Direct?
No, I hardly ever go there.
You go there all the time.
No, I'll tell you about
85 pairs of plimsolls from there, haven't
you? I think you're called trainers, actually.
Trainers.
Morrison's.
Sports Direct, where else?
I'll agree. I also...
What about that Cost Cutters in the Cut where you like to go?
No. Marks and Spencer's.
You don't go there.
I do go to Marks and Spencer's.
When?
I go there
when was the last time you went there?
I buy my chinos from there. What's your problem?
What size?
Well, normal size.
Normal size,
yeah.
What size?
Normal size.
They come in waist sizes.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
We know 26.5 inside leg. We know that.
Yeah, well, that's right.
What size is the waist?
Well, it varies on the style because I've got sloping hips. And what's your problem? And
sloping hips.
I have got sloping hips, and so I sometimes
get a badge for that.
No, I sometimes have to get them adjusted, just to.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Just to fit.
So I've got Morrison's, Sports Direct, and Marks and Spencer's.
Well, that's not the 3. I mean, I also like shopping in. I like shopping in like upmarket shops. You got upmarket stuff.
Well, like the Italian outfitters.
No, more like you get these shops which sell like upmarket sort of biscuit tins and all that kind of stuff. I buy them as presents for other
like
people.
Penhaligon's, that kind of thing.
I don't know what Penhaligon's is, but it sounds about right. Yeah, it sounds like a good name.
Right. Do you know what I'm thinking of doing?
What?
I'm thinking of getting myself a suit made for Cardiff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why do you feel you need a new suit for Cardiff then?
Well, I feel as though I need a new suit just generally for the stage.
Okay.
Because I've worn the same couple of suits really for most of the stage shows that we've done.
Oh, right, okay.
And I feel like I might need to branch out a bit.
And we've got one a month this year.
I'm thinking of getting a red suit.
No.
I am.
That's a joke.
No, it's not.
No, you'd look ridiculous. You'd look like a big fat red tomato.
Well.
Our old friend James...
Whittaker.
He's
dead now.
He's dead now, I'm afraid, yeah. He's got a wing.
Big fat dead tomato.
Yeah, that's right. He's got an extension at his house named the Princess Diana wing.
Well, he hasn't anymore, has he?
No, he hasn't anymore, but it was paid for by the expenses he claimed from the Daily Mirror.
Yeah.
Chasing Princess Diana around the world. Oh, he's a great guy, Jimmy. I loved him. I loved him.
Anyway, I'll tell you a story about him coming up very shortly. However, next it's winners and losers.
Yeah.
Winners and Losers was no more, but has now been resurrected for a final version. Only 5 games left to go for some teams, only 4 for most of them, I suppose. So it's going to be a short winners and losers.
Yeah.
Would you like to change anything about it?
No, I'm
so
fine.
We'll vote the same way.
Yes.
Either for me or for you.
Yes.
On the poll. The poll will be open until midnight, as per usual.
Yes.
And all I can say is, in order to keep it current, I suppose, just make sure that everything you nominate as a winner or a loser is actually something that's happened.
Yes, exactly.
Rather than something that isn't going to happen.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that was the problem last week.
Yeah, well, whatever you like, yeah.
So would you like to go first?
It was going to happen until it was abandoned. It was happening at the time of the show, but we won't argue about that.
No, it's probably not worth it. So, would you like to go first with losers or first with winners?
I'll go first with losers.
OK, then off you go.
OK, here we go. Right, my first loser is Luis Enrique, the Barcelona manager.
Oh, yes.
He's now been in charge of Barcelona, losing 3 consecutive games for the first time in living memory, i.e. 7 years, if you check your facts, OK? And that can't go on. He might even concede La Liga because of the run of defeats.
That would be extraordinary, wouldn't it?
It would be extraordinary.
Apparently, before they lost the El Clasico game,
Yep.
they were 500 to 1 on to win the league.
You had to put down £500 to win £1.
That's what 500 to 1 on means.
I know, they were that certain to win the league. And now Atletico Madrid look as though they could snatch it, even Real Madrid, 1 point behind. So he's my first loser.
OK.
My second loser
Very continental of you.
Well, OK, but it's, I'm going straight down the line here, not Mickey Mousing. I'm telling you who I think the losers are.
Not Mickey Mousing?
No, not
a
at
verb
all.
now.
So exactly, it is. Now, the second loser has to be the new chairman of Aston Villa, Steve Hollis.
Yes.
He has managed to lose 2 major members of the newly constructed board. I mean, it's unbelievable. Lord Mervyn King and Mr. Bernstein,
what
the
is
former
Lord King of what is it he calls himself?
Fonensbury or somewhere.
Something like that,
yeah. In fact, I've got a letter here, so I'll tell you exactly. And Mr. Bernstein, the former chair of the FA. I mean, 2 absolutely stellar names to have on a newly constructed board
I don't know about that.
of a team that's trying to come back, or a club that's trying to come back.
Yeah.
It is, in fact, Lord King of Lothbury. KG, GBE, FBA.
Right.
So Mr. Hollis, who, when he took over, started talking about, supporting the brand, making this, a powerful statement within the world of sport and all that. That's completely fallen to pieces.
Yeah.
And by the way, Adrian Bevington, great guy, an old friend of mine, formerly head of, FA England and all that kind of stuff. He's not a member of the board. He's actually been taken on by the club as a consultant.
Is he the last man standing now?
Well, it's sort of. It's sort of like that because they haven't got what they were looking for in a director of football.
Yeah.
And the 2 men who've walked out tonight seem to have walked out because there seems to be no decision on an imminent replacement for a manager. They haven't got a manager.
Yeah.
So they're my first 2 losers, OK? Strong candidate. My third one, I'm sorry to have to nominate him because he is a sporting hero of mine, Lewis Hamilton.
No.
Lewis Hamilton has now allowed his teammate to win the last 6 Grand Prix in which they've driven side by side with each other. Lewis Hamilton's now fallen so far behind his teammate that he is at a disadvantage of needing to win 2 races whilst Nico Rosberg fails to win a race, OK?
Or fails to get on the podium.
And it seems to me he's absolutely saddled himself with an almost impossible task.
I think he's suffering from the porky jinx.
Well, I don't think he's suffering from the porky jinx. I think he's suffering from partyitis.
Yes.
Because if you remember, at the end of last season, he admitted he was partying too hard. Seems to have taken that through the winter break.
Dressed as a sheikh.
Dressed as a sheikh and turned up at a race, made a fool of himself. Yeah. And is now clearly taken his eye off the ball. They are my 3 losers.
OK.
I commend them to the house.
They're not bad, actually. Even I would say that they're a much higher standard than your normal offerings. I'm going to start with Jack Wilshere as one of my losers of the weekend. I don't know if you noticed Arsenal's rather poor performance at the weekend.
Yes.
We've mentioned earlier that poor Arsene Wenger was getting a lot of abuse from fans.
Yes.
And, of course, Jack, who's still on the road to recovery, although apparently in one of the under-21 games recently he had a knee injury which kept him down on the ground for a while. Yeah. I don't know whether you noticed after the Crystal Palace result, which was a draw, of course, on Sunday evening, he issued a tweet. I don't know whether you know this, which said hashtag AFC, hashtag together. Yeah. It showed a picture of the Arsenal club crest, a lovely looking statue, which was a silhouette of 3 figures.
Right.
But the three figures, unfortunately for Jack Wilshere, were not Arsenal players. It was the famous Holy Trinity statue from Manchester United, which, of course, is Dennis Law, Bobby Charlton and George Best.
Yeah.
And everybody recognised it immediately and told him that he was being a complete idiot. And the tweet has now been withdrawn. And nobody understands how he managed to make such a glaring error.
I have to admit, I wasn't
shaking
aware
their heads
of that.
in disbelief. Good. So I've surprised you with one.
You surprised me because I think it's irrelevant. But anyway,
that's always good. My second loser is Joleon Lescott, of course, for issuing that ridiculous statement, which caused him to get much derision, not only from the fans but from fellow professionals as well, saying that it was a great weight had been lifted off the shoulders of the players at Aston Villa because now they knew that they were going down. They could put in some decent performances.
And
even if you were to give Joleon Lescott the benefit of the doubt, which many people wouldn't, it was a particularly idiotic thing to say.
Well, it was so insensitive for the fans of Aston Villa who've suffered so badly this season.
Exactly right. And finally, my third loser of the weekend is Jamie Vardy. Because if it does turn out that Leicester fail to win the Premier League, which they're still odds on to win, 5 points ahead, 5 games to play and all that, you would have to say if Jamie Vardy misses the next 2 games and maybe 3 out of the 4 they've got to play, then they're going to miss his goal scoring, they're going to miss his general kind of tenacity, they're going to miss his appearances on the pitch, and it's going to be his fault. And I have to say that the karma that I suggested would happen to him after posing with his Bentley has finally come back and bitten him on the backside.
He'd had his Bentley for 7 months before he was...
Never mind that. He was
pictured with it. That's not a bad choice, and I considered it myself, but I just could not nominate Jamie Vardy as a loser when he's done so much magnificent work this season.
This weekend only.
Well, but I still think...
He's got himself sent off when he didn't have to. He's got himself into a further difficulty because of the way he reacted. And, he's done Leicester no favours.
Well, the only reason Leicester are where they are is because of Jamie Vardy's goals. So
that's why That's why.
Difficult to...
Well, it's not for you to judge mine and me to judge yours.
No, it's not. I'm just telling you the thinking process I had.
Thank you very much indeed.
Right,
we haven't got time to go through the quagmire that is your brain.
Okay.
Let's have the winners instead.
Everyone's a winner, baby. That's no lie. That's no lie. You never fail to satisfy.
Now, I should give you my 3 winners, shall I?
Okay.
My first winner is Tyne Weir.
Tyne and Weir?
Yeah, well, it's the northeast of England, basically, because of the 2 wins at the weekend by Sunderland and by Newcastle.
Okay.
Now, some people will say, yes, but last week you nominated Sam Allardyce as a loser.
Yes,
I'm still not convinced that Sam Allardyce is going to get out, and I'm not really convinced that Newcastle is going to get out of trouble either.
But you're nominating them as winners.
However, I think, for the northeast of England, they've had a miserable year in the Premier League. To have Sunderland and Newcastle win the same weekend, you have to say that is a fantastic achievement up there.
That's a bit generic, isn't it?
No,
to nominate a region as a winner.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Because I can't nominate Newcastle without Sunderland. I can't nominate Sunderland and Newcastle without calling it the northeast of England, right? My second winner is Aurelio Gomez, the Watford goalkeeper, who saved 2 penalties, not 1 penalty, 2 penalties from Saido Berahino in their victory over West Bromwich Albion, which was quite a remarkable thing to have done.
I agree.
You know, amazing feat, which is, I think, only ever been achieved by one other goalkeeper in the Premier League who has saved 2 penalties in the same game. I'm not even sure it was in the same match. And my final winner of the weekend, which will excite some in Scotland, not others, is Rangers. Because, of course, Rangers came up to Hampden Park to play Celtic, who are top of the league. In the Premier League. Rangers still top of the league in the next tier down. Everyone said, including John Hartson, our old friend, that, you know, they'd be lucky to get beaten by 4-0. I didn't think the Rangers would win. They won on penalties, and I think they've done a remarkable job of showing everyone why Rangers need to actually be in the Premier League or the Premiership with Celtic. Because how exciting was it? Very exciting. Right? You didn't know that, did you?
Yes, I did. Of course I did.
Did you?
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll hear from Mark Warburton coming up in the next hour.
Well, okay, now you want my 3 winners, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay, right. Well, first of all, I was going to nominate Huralo Gomez, because I thought it was great. Huralo Gomez. Huralo Gomez, yeah. Because...
sure that's not quite right.
It is, absolutely
right.
Have another go. No, I checked it today.
Have another go.
Huralo Gomez, right?
Huralo.
Okay, yeah. And saving 2 pence a game, I agree. However,
I say Huralo, I say goodbye.
As you've nominated him, I will pass on that one. So my first winner has got to be Steve Davis. Steve Davis retired yesterday from snooker after 35 years as a professional when he lost a qualifier at this year's World Championships, okay? Yeah. And he was given a lap of honour around the table at the Crucible where, of course, he graced the place. He's played in the modern game in more World Championships than anybody else. He's played for 30 years in the World Championships. Only, the legendary... what was his name? Fred Davis, who did it more than
Joe Davis?
Joe Davis, he's the guy. But he had a brother called Fred, didn't he?
He did.
And they played for more years, but Steve Davis is absolute legend and sheer pleasure and joy he's given people over the years, brought snooker into the modern age. He's my first winner. My second winner...
But he got knocked out in the qualifiers.
He got knocked out in the qualifiers, but he's 30 years the greatest snooker player we'll ever remember. Of course, more titles were taken by
Stephen Hendry.
No, not better than Stephen Hendry.
So not better.
The one we will remember. Who would you remember? Stephen Hendry?
Yeah,
No, you wouldn't remember Steve Davis. Yeah. Steve Boring Davis. My second winner. Now you nominated the team Rangers. I'm nominating their manager Mark Warburton because he came to Rangers when they had stumbled on what everybody thought was a simple mission. And the simple mission was to get out of the 3rd division in Scotland, get out of the 2nd division in Scotland, and get out of the Championship. They got out the 3rd, they got out the 2nd, but they stumbled in the Championship because, for some unknown reason, they simply couldn't get back into the Scottish Premier League.
It's not for an unknown reason. They didn't win enough games.
Exactly.
Perfectly well-known reason.
But it should have been a simple job for a club the size of Rangers. So Mark Warburton, an Englishman, imported into Scotland to try and do it. He did it, and not only has he done that now, he's now beaten Celtic in the semi-final of the Scottish Cup, and that, to me, makes him the absolute winner in British football this weekend, with apologies to my Celtic friends, but they themselves are ultra-critical of their management. And my third winner, as you've nominated Herrello, is this. It's Cheltenham Town. Cheltenham Town.
Where there are no prostitutes.
Cheltenham Town, that's right, yeah. Cheltenham Town are the first club ever to bounce back immediately as winners of the conference after being relegated from the Football League, OK? They were relegated last year. Most teams disappeared below the halfway mark when they go down into the conference. Cheltenham didn't. They pulled themselves together. They finished top. They were crowned champions at the weekend. They're going back up, and that's the first time that's ever been done in the history of the Football League and the conference.
Right.
Yeah,
how many people do you think care about that?
Sorry?
How many people do you think care about that?
People will appreciate the sporting achievement in a huge way. A huge way.
No mention of Everton this week.
No mention of Everton, no.
Okay. So those are the winners and losers. You can now go to the two mics, where you will find pinned to the top of the old Twitter scenario that particular voting box.
Yes.
You can either vote for me or Mr. Parry over the course of the next several hours. Until midnight tonight, we will announce the result
Indeed.
In the show later on tomorrow morning. This is Talk Sport.
Vote Porky.
They seek him there, his clothes are loud, but never square. It will make or break him, so he's got to buy the best, 'cause he's a dedicated follower of fashion. And when he does his little rounds down the boutiques of London town, eagerly pursuing all the latest fads and trends, 'cause he's a dedicated follower of fashion. Oh, yes, he is. Oh, yes, he is.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Go to the Two Mics Twitter page where you can vote for me or for Mr. Parry for winners and losers. It's a new competition. The score currently 0-0. Somebody just tweeted and said, "Why is it such a short winners and losers?" Well, if you're asking about the length of the competition, it's because we're finishing it at the end of the Premier League football season.
Yes, absolutely.
And when we'll have to come up with something else.
Yeah, it'll be the best of 5. We'll have something else. Don't worry.
By the way, next week, winners and losers next week.
Yes,
will be at a different time.
It certainly will.
Because we haven't been able to tell anybody this.
No, we haven't. We should announce it now.
But we should tell them now.
Yes.
Go on.
Okay, you want me to do it?
Yeah, you go.
Okay, just want to tell you, folks, that after this week, we will not be on this slot for 2 weeks. We are filling in for our really great mates, Hawksby and Jacobs. What an honour and a pleasure it'll be to take their slot, which is not 1 to 4 of the early morning, which we do at the moment, And then Mike goes on to do 4 till 6, of course.
Coincidentally, it's 1 to 4 in the afternoon.
Coincidentally, it's 1 to 4 in the afternoon. We'll be taking over from H&J from next Monday. We will have all the same stock competitions, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we'll invent a new one for Friday.
Will we?
Is that not right?
I suppose so.
Of course it's right.
Yeah.
And we're going to be delighted to be giving you some daytime radio. So stick with us, folks. The podcast will be out every day after the show, as usual.
Yeah.
So for those around the world who are used to listening to us at a certain time...
Can you do anything in brevity?
If you can't listen to us at a certain time...
For God's sake.
Don't worry, you can pick up the podcast.
Here's a simple explanation. From next week, for 2 weeks, we'll be doing Hawksby and Jacobs.
That's it.
1 to 4.
I've told everybody that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, OK.
You've had to go on it. Now, how about this? From Demian, who says, Plank and Tonic. Yeah. Ha, ha, ha. I don't know why you say hello. I say goodbye, says Chris.
Yeah. You say hello.
Hello.
And I say goodbye.
It's not Irish. Caroline in Kuala Lumpur says, morning, guys. Driving up to Kuala Lumpur and enjoying the banter. It's 33 degrees here.
Oh, blimey. I'm not surprised you're not dead. What's her name? Caroline.
What do you mean,
but
dead?
I'm glad you're not, obviously. But I mean, it's very hot.
You're not, 33 is not that hot.
Oh, come
when I was in Turkey on holiday, it was about 38.
Oh, forget
39.
that. Hope you got good air conditioning in the car. What sort of car is it? Is it a Merc?
Right,
if it's a Merc, you'll be all right.
Hopefully it's not some old jalopy.
Yeah.
John says, sounds to me as if Porky likes shopping in bargain booze. £5 for a bottle of wine.
I nearly bought a bargain booze shop once. I told you, didn't I?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I decided not to.
Well, that would have been a terrible idea.
It would have been,
Thomas says, I'm trying to live a milk on the quiet here and just made me laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Hashtag £5 bottle of wine.
Okay. Yeah.
Kevin says, I love how the posh bladderator looks down on common bladderators. This plank has been drinking tank and tonic all weekend.
Yes, that's right, yeah. No, I haven't actually, but I might have done.
Karen's dad says, guys, brilliant shows and all. Can Porky sing Happy Birthday to me in any musical style of his choice?
Why, is it his birthday?
Well, I imagine so.
All right. Okay.
Do you want to just sing like one quick bar?
Very quickly. Yeah. What's his name?
Karen's dad.
Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Karen's dad. Happy birthday to you.
And CLC says, Mike Parry said Neville Southall was very Welsh. What does very Welsh mean? Either you are or you're not, aren't you?
No, what I meant is that he was incredibly proud Welshman, you know, who flew the Welsh flag all around the world with great style and panache.
Well, isn't that what most Welshmen do?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. But, I mean, you know, Nev did it in particular. Yeah. Now, you know that music that we just played? That was the Kinks, wasn't it?
That was indeed. Dedicated follower of fashion.
Yeah, now, you know this old cliche about, if you can remember the 60s, you weren't there.
Yeah.
Which is supposed to mean that you sat on your head on nefarious substances and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It just sort of passed you by, you know, Haight Ashbury, San Francisco man and all that.
Yeah.
But in fact, one of my journals, which I've picked up over the weekend, says that the truth is the 60s were rubbish. I mean, you know, they were just dreadful.
Really?
Well, you know, the country was all nationalised. Nobody had any money. There were loads of layabouts around who called themselves hippies, but in fact they were just unemployed bums.
Yeah.
People, if they wanted to go out for a night, guess where they had to go?
Where?
The Bernie Inn.
Really?
Yeah.
God, they were terrible places.
Do
they still have them, Bernie Inns?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
They've been replaced by, what do you call it?
The Carvery.
No, not just the Carvery, but there's another chain, isn't
there?
Yeah,
there is, yeah.
There's another chain.
Toby.
No.
Toby, there's the Toby, there's the Carvery. I know these
the
things.
Toby Carvery is the same thing.
Oh, is it? Okay.
That's the Toby Carvery.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's not the Toby and the Carvery.
Well, you know what I mean.
No, but there's another one of those chains that's a bit like the Bernie Inn.
Well, I don't know, do I?
I don't know either.
I know the Toby Carvery.
Did I tell you I got some free steak knives this weekend?
Free steak knives? Well, you don't eat steak, do you?
No, well, I don't eat it very often, but I know what to do with them. I'll talk to you about it in a minute. This is Talk Sport. This one?
Well, that's Santana again.
Yeah, it is.
What are you putting on a Santana
Black Magic
dross for?
It's not dross.
Yeah, it's rubbish. Nobody likes that.
Although Baggy Neil says, I'm with Porky on this one. Don't think because you like Santana MG that everybody does.
Yeah.
You would have to be stoned to listen to an album with that rubbish.
Exactly, I totally agree. Now then, I'll tell you about this 60s book, okay?
What a plank.
And, What?
What?
What do you mean?
I'm talking about him.
Oh,
Baggy
well,
Neil.
no, you shouldn't call our listeners a plank. Now then, do you remember Vesta Curry?
Yes.
We all used to eat Vesta curries.
Well, I didn't eat many of them, but yeah, there was a time in the 70s.
I liked them.
Of course you'd like them.
Because they came out of a packet.
Yeah, of course.
And I thought
you didn't have to cook them.
I thought they were quite nice.
You just heat them up, didn't you? You just boil in a bag.
No, the other problem was most women in the 60s had an ambition to achieve, and mostly did, get married before they're 25.
Right.
But all this free love and all that kind of stuff, right? Most women who got married under 25 were, in fact, you know, they didn't have, like, any partners before they got married.
Yeah, but what, you mean virgins?
Well, I suppose that's
You're trying to say, why can't you say the word?
Well, I suppose that's right. So it's virgins, yeah.
Virgins?
I suppose so, yeah.
You ever been with a virgin?
That's too infant a question. I'm not going to answer it. No, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm sorry. I can't.
Why not?
Because I don't want to.
Well, it's a yes or no. You
I
don't have to tell me why or who.
No, I don't want to.
All right.
The other thing is that for people of, you know, like the age of about 15, 16, 17,
then,
right? Yeah, when I was it was in the 70s when I was that age, right?
Right.
Now, we used to get into pubs and all that because it had become established that drinking was getting younger and younger. In the 60s, people of that age were still going to coffee bars.
Yeah.
Good God.
Well, I mean, as we were saying, there was no wine bar culture as such, and I suppose for many reasons why an awful lot of teenagers got into drugs was because they couldn't drink, really. There wasn't anywhere for them to go to drink.
Maybe.
Unless they sort of robbed their parents' liquor store.
Yeah, maybe.
Liquor cabinet, you know what I mean?
Maybe. And all this about, you know, Mary Quant and all this and the miniskirt and all that. Apparently, only about 5% of the population could afford clothes like that. The rest of us were all poverty-stricken because of it was only 20 years since the end of the Second World War.
Yeah, but not everybody...
Nobody had any money.
Yeah, but you didn't have to buy a Mary Quant miniskirt. You could make your own, couldn't you? I mean, a lot of girls probably did that.
They did from curtains, believe it or not, and that sort of thing. Nobody had a car, right?
No.
So, you know, when did we get our first car? I got my first car I bought my first car when I was...
Did your parents have cars, though?
Well, my dad had a Morris Minor. Yeah. It was a company car. He was a sales.
That's still a car, though.
He was a sales.
My parents, I think we got
them commercial traveller.
We got our first car, I think, about 1964, 65.
Yeah, we got ours.
Austin, Cambridge.
No, we always had one because my dad was always a commercial traveller. That's what he did. And we came out of the Navy after the war, and I managed to buy my own first car myself when I was 19.
Really?
By saving up money from working at the petrol station, all that kind of stuff.
For ripping off the diesel?
No, I didn't do anything like that.
You did.
But, you know...
time, by the way.
The other thing is, in the 60s, nobody of that sort of age, in the early 20s, could buy a flat of their own because they didn't exist. No. And if they did, you couldn't afford them because you only earn £12 a week and all that kind of stuff.
It's a bit like now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit like
now. You can tell that the listeners really, really care that we're not going to be here for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Because we're covering for H&J. Simon in Sheffield says, who's on your slot for the next 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah?
That's all he cares about.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
What do you want to know that for? What's the early scoring, please, on...
The early scoring is 56% to 44% in the voting for winners and losers.
And who's got 56?
In my favour.
In your favour?
Yep.
No, I don't believe that.
Well, have a look.
I think you're winding me up.
There it is.
No, I'll have a look on my own information device, thank you.
Well, why are you sort of shrinking away from me like I'm some kind of lurgy?
No.
Or the incurable clap.
Yeah.
We never really talked about that. We'll have to get into it tomorrow.
No, I told you all about it.
No, you didn't.
I did.
You did not.
I did.
We'll have to get more into it tomorrow. Anyway, vote for winners and losers. You can vote till midnight tonight.
Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne podcast from the two mics. By the way, I didn't drink gin and tonic when I first met you in Costello's.
Yeah, you did.
It was tank and tonic.
What?
Tank and tonic.
That's gin and tonic.
Tanqueray.
Tanqueray's gin.
Tanqueray is known as Tanqueray. It's not gin, known as gin.
Well, it is gin, though.
Well, it might be gin, but it's known as Tanqueray.
That's rubbish.
No, it's not.
What a load of old cobblers.
Tank and tonic.
It's still gin and tonic.
Tank and tonic.
Plank and tonic, you should add.
I've got sloping hips.